Chapter 184. In the live broadcast room of Songqing TV station, the screen switched to the stands on both sides of the Songqing University Martial Arts Stadium. There were already a sea of people there, most of them young and energetic men and women. So popular. The commentator and host Fang Juexiao couldn't help but sigh. Listen to the shouts, listen to the movements. How is this a low-level preliminaries? If you say it's the North-South regional competition, I'm afraid the audience in front of the TV will believe it. His partner, the guest of the competition, the 38-year-old Dan Stage Mighty One Gan Lo, laughed. I've always heard that Songqing University's martial arts atmosphere is average. Today, I see that it's very good. Except for the number of seats, it's not much worse than our home ground. He was a member of Songqing's Forever Club. He was the main substitute for the North-South regional competition, which was also the preparatory competition. He was of professional 7th pin. Because of his easygoing personality and naturally smiling face, he was quite popular in the province and was often invited by the TV station as a guest. Fang Juexiao flipped through the information in his hand and said while looking forward, "Old Gan, actually the rumors you heard are not wrong. It's just that he's a little old." Songqing University Martial Arts Club has been defeated repeatedly in the regional competition of the National University Martial Arts competitions in the past few years. They've been eliminated again and again, and their popularity is getting lower and lower. They're lucky if they can get a few hundred students to watch an official competition. Last year, when Lin K joined the school, they spent a lot of effort to promote the competition. But in the end... Speaking of this, he lightly patted the table like a storyteller, shook his head and said, in the end, they still couldn't break through the group competition. At that time, I thought, it's over. Songqing University needs at least 3 years to restore its martial arts atmosphere. Who knew that Lu Cheng would appear out of nowhere this year? He's talented and can perform on the spot. Not only that, but he also knows how to create big news. I heard that he caught a student who jumped off a building a while ago, which caused a sensation in the school. It was on the 3rd page of Songqing Metropolis Daily, and even the portal website reprinted it. Then, the students of Songqing University are curious. They thought that they should at least go to the scene to see what Lu Cheng looks like and how good his martial arts are. And this year, the Martial Arts Club swept through the group competition of the preliminaries, and even the Fearless Squad became their sacrifice. After a while, their popularity suddenly gathered together. Gan Lo said cooperatively, as the saying goes, a single tree can't hold up a forest, but 2 trees make a forest. With Lu Cheng, Lin K won't be alone. I've seen the highlights of their previous matches. I have to say, I don't know where Coach Shi from Songqing University found Lu Cheng. Such a martial arts genius is hard to come by. Besides, he and Lin K are still freshmen. Maybe next year, or maybe the year after, the difficulty of the preliminaries in the Songqing division will only depend on one thing, whether the Songqing University Martial Arts Club will participate or not. I've talked with my teammates in the club. They all agree that Lin K has already touched the threshold of the Dan stage and has a great chance of advancing within this year. As for Lu Cheng, as long as he can build up his foundation, this obstacle won't be able to stop him. At the earliest next year, at the latest the year after next year, Songqing University Martial Arts Club will be led by 2 fighters of the Dan stage. Maybe 1 or 2 fighters of the professional 9th pin will emerge among the others. Yan Xiaoling, who was watching the live broadcast, quickly posted on the forum. Hey, today's commentator is so shameless. He keeps flattering our Lu Cheng and Songqing University Martial Arts Club. I'm embarrassed. But I want to say, please continue, don't stop. What about this year? Old Gan, how far do you think Songqing University Martial Arts Club will go in the end? Fang Juexiao controlled the direction of the topic, so as not to divert it to outer space. This was the professional quality of a host. Gan Lo smiled and said, I don't dare to make any promises. In this day and age, it's easy to get slapped in the face if you make any promises. I can only say this. After winning today's match, as long as Songqing University Martial Arts Club doesn't mess around, there won't be any problem for them to advance as the first in the group. However, once they advance, it will depend on the situation of the draw. To be honest, if they were to meet the undamaged, fearless squad again, they might not necessarily win. As for the other groups, there are those who are stronger than fearless squad, and there are also those who are on the same level as them. Huh, old Gon, you've become a wily old fox in the guest world. Fang Juexiao teased. In other words, today's match will determine at least one person in the third group to get the qualification. And it's good to get the qualification. After the qualification, they can immediately get a broadcasting share of 250,000 yuan. For martial arts clubs or teams, it's almost a profit. Each of the 8 qualified teams would get a share of 250,000 from the broadcast. Every time they advanced, they would get more. Entering the semi-finals would get 350,000 plus a still stance visualization technique. Entering the finals would get 550,000 plus a martial arts technique. Being the champion of their division would get an additional 600,000 in a Dan stage unique skill that was compatible with the visualization technique. Gon silently fired a shot. If it's just the quarterfinals, it won't be profitable. Why? Fang Juexiao roughly knew the reason, but he still had to ask to satisfy the curiosity of the audience. Take the Azure Dragon squad as an example. The 4 professional 9th pin fighters in the squad come from 4 different martial arts schools. They all have a fixed monthly salary. This can't be included in the cost of the preliminaries, right? As an experienced person, Gonlo revealed the truth and said, of course not. This is the remuneration for guiding the students and guarding against challenges. But since they're participating in the preliminaries, who will pay for the ointment and soup they use during this period? They have to protect their bodies. Who will pay for the loss if they can't fight in the small challenge tournament? Martial arts competitions have a lot of risks. They should at least give something for the last match, right? They should at least give some bonus if they win a match, right? In this way, Azure Dragon squad will have to spend at least 100,000 yuan for the 3 months of group matches. When they qualify and get the broadcasting share, don't you feel embarrassed not to give them some bonus? According to the rules, they should at least take half of the 250,000 yuan and deduct the cost of the remaining. It's hard to say if they'll make a profit. Sigh, it's only because of the rise of online broadcasting that the TV stations are giving more generous money. In the past, they had to get a place in the division to make a profit. Fang Juexiao nodded and said, yes. Thank you, Master Gon, for solving this puzzle for us. However, the situation of each team in the group stage is different. Some spend 100,000 yuan to buy 3 months of advertisements, some spend 100,000 yuan to buy a rare opportunity to train their soldiers in actual combat, and some are purely doing voluntary work for their members. They don't get a single cent, so they don't have any expenses. Yes, I'm talking about Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Alright, the competition is about to begin. Let's turn our attention back to the arena. As for the special competition format, Master Gon and I have talked a lot about it, so I won't go into details. I just want to emphasize that the spirit of martial arts is to display the strongest and break through the strongest. I see the referee on the arena. The next match is worth 250,000 yuan. There's money for qualifying in the group matches? Lu Qing looked at Sun Jian in surprise. He had never thought that he would be able to earn money from the preliminaries. Sun Jian lowered his voice and said, I heard from the uncle in the school office that as long as we can qualify and get a share of the broadcast, most of it will go to the martial arts club. Take the first 250,000 yuan as an example. The plan is that the school will get 100,000 yuan for daily management and maintenance expenses. Coach Shi will get 50,000 yuan as a bonus. You and Lin K are professional fighters, so each of you will get 20,000 yuan. Me, Li Mao, Yan Zhika, and Hua will be substitutes. Well, I'm a substitute, so each of us will get 10,000 yuan. Guo Qin will get 5,000 yuan, Li Xiaowen will get 2,000 yuan, Jiang Fusheng, Wu Meng, and Kai Zongming will get 1,000 yuan, and the rest will go to the martial arts club's coffers. As a fighter of amateur third pin, Lin Hua had a great chance to compete today. 20,000 yuan? Lu Qing couldn't help but gasp. He was worried about where to find the money for the dance stage and dating expenses during the summer vacation. Who would have thought that 20,000 yuan would fall from the sky? Although he still had more than 12,000 yuan in private savings, there was still a long way to go before the summer vacation. He still had so many dates to go on. Who knew how much would be left by then? Especially when he planned to take Yenjika to some fun places during the May Day holiday. As for the wear and tear of his martial arts shoes and daily expenses of ointment, Yenjika quietly covered all of them. Although she wouldn't deliberately split the money between them during dates, she would always advise Lu Qing to be frugal in other aspects. She was also very willing to spend money for him. When Kai Zhongming heard about this by chance, he even praised her, saying that one-sided giving wouldn't last long. Only by giving and receiving would one know how to cherish. 20,000 yuan. Lu Qing didn't look in the mirror, but he knew that his eyes must be shining. Previously, during the preliminaries, he had used his pure desire for victory to create his fighting spirit. But now, in his eyes, the Azure Dragon battle team was like a walking pile of cash, a bright future for him to advance to the dance stage, and a beautiful date between him and Yenjika. In addition, the Azure Dragon squad had slightly offended him because of the special competition system they applied. Yesterday afternoon, Yenjika specially asked Linhua, Sun Jian, and the others to practice the basic principles of besieging. In other words, there was no date this week. The Azure Dragon squad was the worst. Fight. Must fight. Win. Must win. He felt that his nostrils were snorting, and his fighting spirit was at the peak. He didn't need others to motivate him, and he didn't need Coach Shi's persuasion. It just so happened that he had mastered the frozen river diagram today. At this time, Geezer Shi clapped his hands, waking Yenjika and the others from their meditation. He smiled and said, "Today's team is Lin Ke, Lu Qing, Sun Jian, Li Mao, Yenjika, and Lin Hua. 6 against 3. In the away team's locker room, Mo Zizong put down his phone and stood up. He glanced at Deng Hua, Zhu Tao, and the others, and began to motivate them before the match. He closed his eyes and said in a low voice, "I know that not many people are optimistic about us in this match. If we didn't apply for the special competition system, I wouldn't be optimistic about it either. Even if we did, the current bets are betting that we will lose." Speaking of this, he pointed to the outside of the locker room. "Did you hear that? The cheers outside are so excited that they don't even think that this is an evenly matched match. Can you imagine?" In the TV station's pre-match analysis, they were all talking about what would happen if Songqing University Martial Arts Club won. Do you know? Songqing University may already be discussing the distribution of the broadcasting bonus. What does this mean? It means that in their eyes, we are not the Azure Dragon, but a loach. They can trample on us as they want. There is no possibility of us losing the match. With a boom, the other members of the Azure Dragon squad all stood up, their faces full of anger. This was an undisguised contempt. This was extremely infuriating contempt. They were thinking about what would happen if they won before the match. Did they think that we were dead? Mo Zizong raised his arms, clenched his fists, and said loudly, "Go out and let them know that we are not to be trifled with. Go out and tear off their pride and beat their arrogance. This is our battle to prove ourselves." Deng Hua, Zhu Tao, and the others immediately followed and shouted, "The battle to prove ourselves." In front of the computer, Yan Shaoling had quickly changed her sitting position. She focused on the screen and forgot to reply. In the Shanbei University Martial Arts Club, Su Wanyan also stayed and sat beside Peng Lian, watching the live broadcast with a solemn expression. Did junior brother Peng just say that Lu Qing will be my nemesis? Chapter 185. After announcing the name list, Geezer Shi smiled and said, "I won't talk about the specifics. Yen explained it well yesterday. It's quite comprehensive. You deserve to be a good student who can get a scholarship while doing special training." Hearing this, there was a burst of laughter in the locker room. Yenjika was so embarrassed that her face turned red. She wanted to find a hole to hide in. During the practice yesterday afternoon, she took a notebook and described all kinds of induction, deduction, and reasoning situations and gave responses. Beside her, Lu Cheng, who was trying hard to hold back his laughter, clearly remembered the girl's focused look and serious tone at that time. I won't talk about the importance of keeping a suitable distance. Their intention is clear. They want to divide us into 3 battlefields. Through their own interweaving, they can create local advantages and accumulate victory little by little. We can't be led by the nose by them and be isolated. We have to contact each other and connect the 3 battlefields into one. Only in this way can we play to our advantage. The following are divided into these situations. First of all, Lu Cheng and Lin Ke have to show their deterrence when they are isolated. They have to chase after their opponents and try to force them to come here. If they can't, they have to come here themselves. This is divided into several situations according to the different opponents and the situation. Second, Lin Ke is divided and limited. Third, Lu Cheng is divided and limited. Fourth, the effect of the opponent's elephant trumpet is beyond expectations. Ninth, unexpected changes happen. The situation is very passive. Lu Cheng and Lin Ke, you don't need to care about our victory or defeat. But you can use this to pretend to rescue us and set up a counterattack trap to create a chance for us to fight head-on. 10th, in the situation of chaos, senior brother Sun Jian, senior brother Li Mao, senior sister Lin Hua, Qing, we don't have to deal with the predetermined enemy. We can take advantage of the chaos to help Lu Cheng or Lin Ke and make the players who are fighting them lose their mobility. In short, the most important point is that as long as we can defeat one of their professional 9th pin, no matter who it is, we can still win the Azure Dragon squad even if all the substitutes leave the field. This principle must be grasped flexibly. Lu Cheng had heard that serious men were the most handsome. Yesterday afternoon, he learned that serious girls were not only beautiful, but also super cute. Yenjika seemed to radiate brilliance at that time. Therefore, he was a little jealous and stopped Li Mao and the others from calling him Coach Yen when they were joking. He requested that they only call him Coach Yen. This was a term of endearment that only belonged to him. Yenjika blushed when she saw the faint smile on her silent and cold cousin's face. She wished she could stomp her feet and snort at him. However, it was not the right time to flirt with her boyfriend in public. She could only force herself to hold it in. Looking down at her toes, she said softly, "I'm sorry. Coach, sure, I'm only summarizing the most likely scenario. It's not detailed enough." As she spoke, her left hand reached behind Lu Cheng and gently pinched him. I didn't laugh." Lu Cheng looked at the girl with a wronged expression. "I've endured so much." "Humph, we agreed to share blessings and hardships together." Yenjika glanced at him and pouted. She was a little proud of herself. She felt that her shyness and embarrassment had been relieved a lot. It's so good to have a boyfriend. As a lonely old man, Gieserscher pretended not to see their interaction. He smiled and said, "The situation on the battlefield is ever-changing. Even if you can summarize it all, they can't remember it. This kind of arrangement should be rough and not detailed. The key is to grasp the key points and play flexibly. The reason why this old man doesn't really like to guide you guys on how to play a specific match is because I want you to learn how to deal with it yourselves. You don't have to play in the arena all the time. There will always be a coach helping to analyze and prepare in advance. You'll remember what you've been through and you'll make fewer mistakes in the future." Lu Cheng listened thoughtfully and nodded slightly. He was indeed a master who was born in real combat. "Well, go out. It's time to test your results." Gieserscher turned around and walked to the door. He laughed in his heart, "I can't wait for you to lose the fight and accept the setback. Why would I help you analyze the siege situation and point out the problems in your preparation? Naive. Childish. I'll summarize it after the fight." For a moment, Gieserscher felt that he was the biggest spy in the martial arts club. As soon as the martial arts club members stepped out of the locker room, the organized audience immediately cheered, "Songqing University, go for it." Following that, the live announcer introduced the list of fighters. Songqing University Martial Arts Club's fighter today is Lin K. At this point, he deliberately paused for a moment. As a result, the nearly 10,000 students in the stands all stood up with a hubbub and shouted in unison, "Go for it, Lin K." Their voices overlapped and shook the sky. Even Lin K, who was reserved and silent, couldn't help but tremble slightly. When the shouts died down, the announcer continued to read, "Lu Cheng." His voice suddenly rose and was full of passion. This ignited the enthusiasm of the audience again. The students hit the seats with inflatable cheering sticks to match the tsunami of shouts, "Go for it, Lu Cheng." The loud and high-spirited sound waves entered Lu Cheng's ears. His body trembled and secreted more adrenaline. He felt the support of his classmates and suddenly felt a heavy pressure in his heart. They were so optimistic and excited that they didn't take the Azure Dragon squad seriously at all. They seemed to think that with the complete martial arts club of him and Lin K, they could easily defeat the opponent. Senior brother Sun Jian and the others were also thinking about how to use the broadcasting bonus after it was distributed. If the anticipated victory didn't come as expected, if he failed to live up to everyone's support, the atmosphere at the scene would be unimaginable. This seemed to be a match that couldn't be lost. One side of the burden was on his shoulders, while the other side was on Lin K's shoulders. In a short time, too many thoughts of wanting to win and fearing to lose appeared in Lu Cheng's mind. He couldn't help but turn to look at Lin K and Yan Zhika. Lin K's eyes were dark. Except for the strong fighting spirit on the surface, they were like an ice lake with no ripples. Yan Zhika's big eyes showed some excitement, and some worry. She also felt that everyone was too optimistic and the atmosphere was impetuous. They looked at each other and nodded to each other, understanding that they had the same worries. However, Lu Cheng also calmed down because of this. Anyway, not everyone was excited, and there were still some sober companions. So what if I want to win and fear to lose? I want to win every match and fear to lose. Lu Cheng took a breath and took the lead to walk past Coach Shi to the arena. At this time, the announcer was still reading the list of fighters. The names Li Mao, Yan Zhika, Sun Jian, and Lin Hua echoed in the martial arts arena. It was the first time for them to experience such interactive enthusiasm. Their hearts beat faster and their blood boiled. Li Mao's body trembled and he was a little nervous. Fortunately, he knew that he was the assistant today, not the protagonist. His failure wouldn't affect the final result, so he restrained himself. On the other side of the arena, Mo Zizong, Deng Hua, and Zhu Tao were wearing indigo martial arts suits with green dragons around them. They were full of fighting spirit as they climbed the stone steps. Looking at the four black-clothed referees on the arena, Mo Zizong closed his eyes and recalled his mobilization in the locker room. He deliberately exaggerated some words to stir up the emotions of the team members. This was not only for today's match, but also for the long-term development. Before the joint establishment of the Azure Dragon Squad, each of the four martial arts schools only had one aged 9th pin and one robust 9th pin martial arts school. Not to mention the chain martial arts schools of high-ranked dance stage families, even Hongluo Martial Arts School could firmly suppress them by more than one level. After forming the Azure Dragon Squad, the reputation of Mo Zizong and the others spread in the martial arts circle of Songqing. They overshadowed the Hongluo Martial Arts School and were recognized as the second most popular team to advance in the group. They had a good reputation and a lot of benefits. If they lost today's match, the preliminaries of the Azure Dragon Squad would come to an end. It was hard to say whether they could form a team again next year. It was easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but difficult to go from extravagance to frugality. Mo Zizong, who was used to doing things as the captain of the Azure Dragon Squad, didn't want to go back to the past. He didn't want to go back to being an ordinary deputy master of a martial arts school. He wanted to unite the people with the preliminaries and win over the disciples of various martial arts schools. He wanted them to understand that they were weak when they were divided, but strong when they were united. He wanted to promote the four martial arts schools to form the Azure Dragon Club. When he opened his eyes, Lu Cheng and the others were already standing in front of him. There were 6 of them. After applying for the special competition format, they had to face the advantage of the enemy's number. If I had the strength of Lu Qing or Lin Ke, everything wouldn't be so difficult. Mo Zizong glanced at his opponents with a little envy. Because there were too many people, there was no time for talking in the special competition format. There was only 1 minute for adjustment. After Li Mao and the others calmed down, the head referee waved his right hand. Start. As soon as he finished speaking, the 3 professional fighters of the Azure Dragon squad rushed out. Although Mo Zizong was known for his strength, his speed was not slow at all. His muscles were full of explosive power. He was like a running elephant. Deng Hua and Zhu Tao deliberately stayed half a step behind. From the perspective of the big screen, they were like a sharp arrow shot out, and Mo Zizong was the tip of the arrow. Facing this, Lu Cheng and Lin Ke rushed forward according to the analysis of Coach Yen in advance. Yan Zhika and the others kept a distance from each other and followed closely behind. When the two sides were about to collide, Mo Zizong suddenly stood still. His legs firmly planted on the ground, like a giant elephant calmly crossing a river. His muscles wriggled, and his abdomen swelled and then contracted. Woo! A horrible sound of elephant trumpet suddenly came out. Lu Qing felt his head buzzing. His qi and blood were rolling in his chest, and his footsteps slowed down. Yan Zhika and the other amateur fighters were even worse. Their footwork was disordered, and they were dizzy. Fortunately, they were prepared for Mo Zizong's elephant trumpet. The tips of their tongues were always against their teeth. At this time, they gently bit and felt a stinging pain. They immediately woke up and endured the slight discomfort of their bodies to keep a good distance. At this time, Mo Zizong's abdomen swelled again. His face turned red and then white, and his throat suddenly squirmed. Woo! Another deafening elephant trumpet rang in the ears of Lu Qing, Li Mao, and the others. They had just bitten the tip of their tongues, but Lin Ke, whose kung fu was already ingrained in his bones, was able to resist most of the impact with just a twitch of his ears. Mo Zizong had made elephant trumpet twice in a row. This was an ability he had never shown before. After the elephant trumpet, Mo Zizong stopped in place. His body trembled and his face turned pale. He was unable to attack for a while. The reason why he didn't use it before was that even if he used it, he couldn't seize the opportunity to attack the enemy. But this time, he had 2 teammates by his side. Deng Hua and Zhu Tao, who had practiced many times, first counteracted the elephant trumpet by exhaling. Then they immediately bit the tips of their tongues to stay awake. They stepped forward and passed Mo Zizong. One of them blocked Lin Ke, and the other rushed to Sun Jian. Chapter 186. Zhu Tao was bald and bearded, which made him look ferocious. But in reality, he was a good-tempered otaku who spent most of his time juggling the martial arts club and his family. He wanted to take the opportunity to attack Lu Cheng and get rid of him, but he knew clearly that Mo Zizong's second elephant trumpet was forced, and its power was far less than normal. It could only bully amateur fighters. For Lu Cheng, who had reached the level of professional 9th pin, it wouldn't affect him too much. At most, he would feel dizzy, nauseous, and lose balance for a few seconds. In this case, he had no way to defeat Lu Cheng. If he was careless, he would be forced to confront Lu Cheng head-on, which was not worth the loss. Lu Cheng was a fighter who had mastered silence skill and had great control over his body. Zhu Tao took a step forward and stomped with all his strength. Like a cheetah, he pounced in front of Sun Jian. His muscles bulged, propping up his greenish-black skin. Twisting his waist and back, he threw out an ordinary yet ferocious uppercut punch. He had watched the highlights of Songqing University Martial Arts Club's previous matches and found the videos of several substitutes participating in the ranking event. He knew that Sun Jian was the strongest among the 4 amateur fighters, although he had the worst luck and failed to pass the ranking event. Sun Jian was hit by the elephant trumpet and his tongue had returned to its original position. He didn't have time to bite it again. At this time, he felt like he was stepping on cotton. He was floating up and down and could barely keep himself from falling. Naturally, he was only feeling dizzy and uncomfortable, not unconscious. Facing Zhu Tao's attack, he reacted in time. Under the situation where he couldn't lower his waist and couldn't exert strength with his legs, he bounced his back, shook his shoulders, and threw out his right fist. Bang! Sun Jian's hasty and weak defense was blown away by Zhu Tao's punch, and Zhu Tao rushed to his front. He wanted to dodge, but he lost his sense of balance and almost fell. Yan Zhika, Li Mao, and Lin Hua tried to help him, but their feet were weak and they staggered, so they couldn't help in time. They could only watch the bald man slightly tilting his body, followed up with his left arm, and hit Sun Jian's lower abdomen with a hook. Puff! Zhu Tao withdrew his strength in time to avoid being disturbed by the referee. Even so, Sun Jian was still in pain and fell to the ground with his hands covering his abdomen. The referee next to him pulled him away and sent him out of the ring, so that he wouldn't be accidentally hurt by the following punches and kicks. When he left the battlefield and ran to the edge of the ring, another referee immediately followed him to fill in the gap. This was the reason why at least 4 referees were needed. When Zhu Tao seized the opportunity and successfully attacked, Deng Hua, who had a Mohican hairstyle, also encountered Lin Quebec. Although he didn't know that Lin K's unique skill was called Meteor Force, he knew that it wasn't something to be trifled with just by seeing that it could make Wei Xingtian, a professional 8th pin dance stage expert, tremble all over and stiffen up. Therefore, after a feint in front of him, he slid his feet and flashed to Lin K's side. His body slightly arched, his muscles trembled, and his waist and back swayed as he struck an aggressive blast punch. Roar! When this punch came out, there seemed to be a tiger's roar in the air. In fact, Deng Hua's muscles shook the airflow and the movement of his own breathing were superimposed. It showed its power, so it was called Tiger's Roaring Steel Fist. Lin K seemed to be anxious to stop Zhu Tao, so he didn't resist. His spine bounced and his body moved sideways, dodging and pouncing forward. Opportunity. Deng Hua's heart moved. His 10 toes hooked on the ground, and with a strange force, he caught up with Lin K in one step. In the tiger's roaring wind, Deng Hua threw a punch to his opponent's right shoulder. He grasped the timing very well. Lin K's right foot had just stepped out, so he couldn't kick to the side and back. His arm obviously couldn't block the punch, so it was too late to attack the opponent's vital part to force him to retreat. As a warrior who had experienced hundreds of battles, Deng Hua's heart could not help but flash with a trace of joy. If he could take advantage of Lin K's panic to take him down, then he would be the one who had contributed the most today, and could boast about it for several years. Puff! His punch had just hit Lin K, but he felt his opponent's body tremble, and his chi and blood seemed to be withdrawn. His shoulder suddenly sank, as if it was bouncing and shaking, and most of the power was removed. Lin K leaned forward to the right, but his body was like a seesaw. His chi and blood expanded, his waist and back twisted, and his spine undulated. Then his left leg swept backward. Bam! This kick stirred up a strong gust of wind, making it impossible for Deng Hua, who was already used to this move, to dodge. Deng Hua didn't dare to underestimate it. He lowered his waist, got into a good stance, and his left hand like a hammer. Bam! He only felt that his opponent's strength was so great that it was completely beyond his expectations. His left arm was kicked directly to his ribs, and it hurt so much that he could barely keep his center of gravity. Yin-yang twist, two people's strength. While his body was shaking, Lin K turned around with the momentum of the sweep. His temples suddenly bulged, as if there was a volcano brewing in his body. Along with the meteor in his mind, Lin K hurriedly swung his arm and quickly threw a punch between Deng Hua's chest and abdomen. He didn't hold back at all. From the very beginning, he used all his strength in a fake rescue and a real counterattack. Deng Hua endured the pain in his ribs, took a deep breath, and lowered his right arm in time to block his opponent's fist. Bam! He felt like he was hit by an iron hammer, and the strong shock quickly spread throughout his body. It seemed that even his teeth began to tremble, as if they were going to fall out of his gums. Deng Hua felt that every muscle, fascia, and bone in his body was unstable, and he couldn't exert force for a short time. But he spat out the breath he had just inhaled and visualized the corresponding picture, creating a reverse whirlpool in his body like a wind tunnel to eliminate most of the shock. While his qi and blood were surging, Deng Hua endured the pain and suddenly shrank his head, curling his body, and narrowly avoided Lin Kei's sweeping left arm whip. He didn't dare to fight head-on with his opponent, so he took the opportunity to dodge to the side like a civet cat. It wasn't until he had successfully escaped that he suddenly rejoiced that he had narrowly escaped death. Lin Kei no longer pretended. He stamped his feet, and his spine undulated like a dragon, and suddenly rushed to the side. His left arm was already raised, and his elbow was the angle of attack. Deng Hua kept dodging and wandering. Although the range of his movement was getting smaller and smaller under the opponent's active attack, he didn't show any sign of defeat in a short time. At this moment, Zhu Tao had rushed to the front of Yan Zhika. His black and blue skin bulged, and he suddenly punched with both feet, ignoring Li Mao and Lin Hua behind him. After getting rid of Sun Jian, of course, he would deal with this beauty who could forcibly pull back her center of gravity and achieve the primary level of meditation. And it was said that she was Lu Cheng's girlfriend, which could effectively affect the strong enemy's state of mind. When there were only 2 amateur fighters left in Songqing University Martial Arts Club, he wouldn't be afraid at all. Even if there were 2 of amateur first pin, it would be a piece of cake. The first 2, elephant trumpet, and the first attack would decide the result. Bang! The blue bricks under Zhu Tao's feet cracked. His fist exploded the air and hit like a real iron hammer. Yan Zhika had begun to recover. She knew that as long as she could block this attack, she would be rescued by her companions. So she didn't panic. She took a deep breath to bear the pain, lowered her waist, and crossed her arms. Bang! She had just blocked Zhu Tao's fist and made a step back in time, trying to dissipate the force. Under normal circumstances, she should have been able to block this punch and failed because of the opponent's follow-up attack. But now she had just recovered from the elephant trumpet and hadn't completely adjusted her condition, so she didn't have enough strength to use and dissipate the force. After a moment of stagnation, she couldn't bear it and took another step back. Her light body staggered. Lu Cheng had recovered a while before Zhu Tao quickly defeated Sun Jian. At this time, seeing Yan Zhika in danger, he seemed to rush over without thinking. Like an eagle with open wings, he was going to attack the enemy's back. Besieging Wei to rescue Zhao. Seeing this, Mo Zizong, who had recovered, was happy. He knew that Lu Cheng was worried about his girlfriend and made the most unwise choice. His strong legs suddenly rushed to Li Mao, who was attacking Zhu Tao. He wanted to take advantage of the remaining effect of the elephant trumpet to finish him quickly. As long as Lu Cheng couldn't defeat Zhu Tao in 1 or 2 attacks, the situation would be reversed. Zhu Tao was not a fool. Once Lu Cheng attacked, he would definitely give up attacking Yan Zhika and turn to a wandering battle instead of a head-on fight. You are still too young and inexperienced. At this moment, he saw Lu Cheng, who was charging forward, stomp on the ground, shattering the green bricks. Using the force of the stomp, Lu Cheng turned around and pounced on him aggressively. It was as if Lu Cheng had long been prepared and expected this. He grasped the timing perfectly, making it impossible for him to dodge in time. According to Coach Yan's instructions, once she was in danger, he should not rush to rescue her. That would only cause chaos and give the opponent the opportunity to take advantage of the situation. The best choice was to fake rescue and counterattack. A thought flashed through Lu Cheng's mind. He had already adjusted his muscles when he pounced on Zhu Tao. Now he was ready. Facing Lu Cheng, whose eyes were cold and hard to dodge, Mo Zizong took a deep breath and gathered his strength, ready to fight. He could see that although Lu Cheng could continuously throw out tremor punch, the effect of each tremor punch was weaker than Lin Kei's. I don't believe that I can't withstand a tremor punch. I don't believe that I can't find a chance to dodge. He concentrated on visualizing. His body muscles trembled, and a deep elephant trumpet came out of his abdomen, which didn't affect the opponent. He held his hands together as if he was holding a giant elephant. He exerted strength under his feet, straightened his back, and fiercely threw out to Lu Cheng. Crack! The blue bricks around his feet cracked like a spider web. Throwing elephant skill, strength of one elephant. Lu Cheng's eyes were like a frozen lake. In his mind, he had visualized the scene of a surging river. He rushed to the front of Mo Zizong, paused and stepped on the ground. He twisted his waist and sprung his spine to shoot out a mountain breaker cannon. At the same time, the cold current in his body surged and rushed to his right fist. The great river, in his heart, froze rapidly inch by inch. Even the splashing waves in the air stopped, sparkling and translucent. He threw out a punch. Frost Force. Chapter 187. Bang! With a dull sound, the big screen in the stadium froze at the place where Lu Cheng and Mo Zizong's fists collided. There seemed to be rings of impact spreading outward. Some of the audience forgot the panic when Sun Jian was knocked out of the ring. They stared at the screen attentively, forgetting to cheer for Lu Cheng. The exchange of blows only lasted for a moment, but Mo Zizong felt as if he had passed a long century. Guarding against the impact of the shock, he only felt that the rolling cold current was instilled into his body by the opponent's power. In an instant, his arms were frozen stiff and spread to all parts of his body, making him feel as if he had stayed up all night naked in a world of ice and snow. He couldn't help but tremble, and his lips turned blue. There was only one thought in his mind. So cold. So cold. Lu Cheng was not relaxed either. The Frost Force was not a unique skill to enhance strength, and Mo Zizong was born with great strength, which could be called outstanding even among all the professional ninth pin fighters. At most, he was inferior to Yi Yaoding. In addition, he practiced the throwing elephant skill, which was famous for enhancing strength. When he attacked with full strength, he was almost as powerful as Jiang Guoxing of Hongluo Martial Arts School. The power of Jiang Guoxing's outburst was said to be somewhat like the power of Dan's stage. Therefore, Lu Cheng immediately felt a terrible force that could lift an elephant and throw it out. He didn't dare to resist for fear of hurting his right arm. After judging that it was not enough to reduce the force by retreating, he straightened his back and took the initiative to swing his center of gravity backward. He stepped back 3 steps in a row. At the beginning, he cracked the black bricks, but now the ground was intact. Until then, Mo Zizong heard his heart beating strongly. Thump, 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 thump. It kept spurting out hot blood to relieve the coldness in his body. What kind of martial arts is this? I can't resist at all. I can't guard against it at all. He looked at Lu Cheng in astonishment and wanted to chase, but his body was trembling and his legs were stiff. It was difficult for him to even take a step forward. He could only hope that the temperature of his blood could help him recover as soon as possible. What kind of martial arts is this? Noticing that Lu Cheng rushed to Mo Zizong, Zhu Tao no longer hesitated. He stepped forward and caught up with Yan Jika, who was stumbling backward. He wanted to defeat her before she regained her balance. With a bang, he shook his right arm and threw a straight punch at his opponent's neck. Seeing that she couldn't resist, Yan Jika decided to give up her center of gravity. She leaned back and kicked high, followed by the lazy donkey roll. At this time, Li Mao and Lin Hua arrived in time. One of them tightened his thigh muscles and pulled out a whip kick, kicking between Zhu Tao's legs from behind. The other one lowered his waist and did a downward chop, attacking the opponent's temple from the side. They were all vital points, yet he didn't hesitate. In this situation, Zhu Tao seemed to have anticipated it. He straightened his back and his dark skin swelled. He moved a small step to the left, so that Li Mao's kick hit his thigh and Lin Hua's punch hit his right shoulder. Puff! Puff! Both of their attacks failed to penetrate the enemy's iron cloth shirt. Zhu Tao, on the other hand, borrowed some of the force and pounced forward. When he brushed past Yan Jika, he stretched out his hands, grabbed her right arm, and threw her out of the ring. Yenjika felt like she was flying in the air. She forced herself to calm down and adjusted her body in the air. She controlled part of her center of gravity. Then she straightened her spine and put strength in her waist. She turned over and landed lightly. She didn't fall. The only problem was that she was outside the ring. I'm so angry, but I have to keep smiling. I can't affect Cheng and the others. She pursed her lips and walked around the ring to the seats of the home team while watching the match on the field. No matter how much preparation and analysis was done, it was always not enough in the ever-changing actual combat. Zhu Tao was relieved when he succeeded in one move. He took a few steps forward, turned around, and pounced on Li Mao and Lin Hua. This time, he didn't need to worry about being besieged. Two amateur fighters couldn't be called besieging. At this time, Lu Qing released most of his strength and gathered the rest into the soles of his feet. In exchange, he made a cracking sound and a more ferocious attack. Both the students on the scene and the audience in front of the computer and TV were surprised that Mo Zizong didn't seize the opportunity when Lu Qing lost his center of gravity and staggered back. But Yan Shaoling and Brahman thought of Peng Qingguang in the last match and nodded as if they understood everything. Yes, tremor punch. Only Peng Liyun in the office of Shanbei University Martial Arts Club frowned slightly and stared at Mo Zizong's pale lips. While pouncing on his opponent, who had not yet fully recovered, Lu Qing quickly adjusted the subtle changes in his body corresponding to the frozen ground map, so that some of his muscles, fascia, and joints were in a ready state. Since he had only started practicing the Thunder Roar Zen for a month, his martial arts had not yet been refined into his bones and body, so he could only rely on the breathing method to indirectly affect his internal organs. Therefore, he needed a certain amount of time to prepare to use the frost force, which was difficult to achieve in one go. And because he had just started to practice this force today, he couldn't combine it with the Thunder Roar Zen, so he couldn't use the severe warning, which was the ultimate move of the latter. Within 2 steps, Lu Qing rushed to Mo Zizong. He had adjusted his body and was ready. In his mind, he once again visualized the surging river with turbid waves. Crack. Lu Qing stepped on the ground and completely crushed a cracked brick. He bent his ankle joint, straightened his knee, straightened his back, swung his shoulder, and made a seemingly ordinary forward punch. But in his body, the forces that had been brewing burst out at the same time. They overlapped with each other and created a sense of coldness, which made the power of frost suddenly magnified and turned into a cold wave, rolling to the front of his fist. In the visualization, the cold wave came, and the river with horrible kinetic energy was frozen in an instant. It was covered with layers of ice, and the waves flying in the air were no exception. They were like delicate works of art. Stimulated by this, Lu Qing's muscles, viscera, and fascia regenerated subtle changes. Then there was a strange wave, which condensed the coldness rushing to the front of his fist and turned it into ice. Ice frost force and frost force. Bang! When Lu Qing made the forward punch, there seemed to be white air around his fist, like the kind that was exhaled in the cold winter. This was a sign that he was not skilled enough in frost force, so the force leaked out. The sign of the real primary level was that when he made a punch, all the force would be restrained. Facing this punch, thinking of the experience just now, Mo Zizong really didn't want to block it, so as to avoid another cold hell. But he had no choice. The numbness of his legs had just disappeared. If he hurriedly dodged, Lu Qing would seize the opportunity to give him a fierce punch. He suddenly took a deep breath, and a low elephant sound came from his abdomen again. But the sound was full of trembling, like a tropical animal coming to the extreme north. Lowering his waist and back, Mo Zizong bulged his stiff arm muscles and crossed his arms in front of his body. Bang! The punch hit the center. The cold current poured into Mo Zizong's body, making him taste the horrible feeling of his body being frozen quickly and even losing his consciousness. Cold. 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 His teeth chattered involuntarily. He only felt that the temperature of his body was rapidly decreasing. His heart beat violently, resisting the invasion of the cold. Frost force. In the office of Shanbei University Martial Arts Club, Peng Lian whispered to himself. Frost Force? Su Wanyan looked at junior brother Peng beside him in astonishment. The computer screen in front of them flashed with snowflakes and made a buzzing sound, as if it was affected by an external electromagnetic field. When Yan Zhika was thrown out of the ring, Lin Ke, who was constantly reducing the range of Deng Hua's fighting, suddenly stopped, as if he had fallen into a state of silence. He took a breath, and seemed to withdraw his force, spirit, and qi and blood. After suppressing them to a certain extent, they suddenly burst out and gushed out. In the midst of the gushing, Lin Ke suddenly pounced forward, like a leopard that finally caught the opportunity to hunt. Deng Hua thought that the safe distance and reaction time were all gone under this pounce. Before he could dodge, Lin Ke had already arrived in front of him. The feeling of the dance stage. He was horrified. He took a deep breath, and without even thinking about it, he quickly raised his arms in front of him. He had just put on a defensive posture when Lin Ke's fist hit him like a meteor. It was extraordinarily fast, mixed with the remaining gushing intent. Bang! The moment the two came into contact, Deng Hua felt as if he had been struck by a bomb. The shockwave roared, shaking his entire body, causing every bone in his body to shake. Every muscle in his body trembled, and every part of his blood and qi was roiling. What's more, it also triggered the residual effect of the last fight, which affected his internal organs, making him feel extremely uncomfortable and nauseous. Therefore, he tried to use the method to offset part of the shock, but his efforts were delayed by half a beat. He could only watch Lin Ke punch him again. Facing Zhu Tao's counterattack, Li Mao suppressed the nervousness in his heart and didn't fight head-on. He slid to the side and cooperated with Lin Hua to hit his throat and temple. Relying on his iron shirt, Zhu Tao suddenly shrank his head, lowered his body, and bumped into Li Mao's fist sideways. Clang! Due to the change of height and position, Lin Hua's fist hit him squarely on the forehead, making a sound like a hand patting an ancient bell. Lin Hua's fist fell on his neck, but was bounced off by his thick neck, which had swelled up after he breathed in. Bang! Zhu Tao bumped into Li Mao and made him stagger, forcing him to take a step back and barely stabilize himself. Then, the bald man, relying on his iron shirt and accurate prediction, resisted Lin Hua's kick and strode forward. He swung his hands and hit Lin Hua fiercely. Li Mao couldn't dodge. After blocking 2 kicks, he was in a precarious situation. At this moment, Lin Hua caught up with him. He tightened his foot and whipped his leg, kicking Zhu Tao's vital part. At the critical moment, Zhu Tao didn't block the attack head-on. He slid his feet, spun his body, and nimbly dodged to Li Mao's back. Taking a hit from the horse's hind leg, he forcibly closed the distance and punched his opponent's spine. He didn't use any strength, but the referee had pulled Li Mao away and asked him to leave the arena. In just a short time, Lin Hua was the only one left among the 4 amateur warriors. When she saw Zhu Tao coming at her, she instinctively chose to move and dodge. Zhu Tao was satisfied, knowing that he had won. As long as Mo Zitsong and Deng Hua didn't lose in a few moves, things would be easy. He glanced at the other 2 battlefields and saw Mo Zitsong's strong and sturdy figure standing there, which made people feel at ease. At this time, he was crossing his hands in front of him, blocking Lu Cheng's fist. Good. I'll attack you from both sides. Zhu Tao thought, but his eyes suddenly froze. Because Lu Cheng had turned around and stopped looking at Mo Zitsong. Is he stupid? Zhu Tao stopped in his tracks. He wanted to see Mo Zitsong give Lu Cheng a fierce blow behind his back, but he only saw that the captain, who was usually called Elephant, was obviously trembling, and his face was strangely pale. What's wrong? Zhu Tao forgot that he had to catch up with Lin Hua and stopped in shock. Lu Cheng bent his body and fixed his eyes on Zhu Tao. Behind him, Mo Zitsong fell to the ground, making a loud noise and splashing some stones. Lu Zhishan killed Jin Guanxi with 3 punches. This is the challenge tournament, and I only used 2 punches. How can I defeat Elephant like this? While Zhu Tao was in shock, he heard another sound of someone falling to the ground. He turned his head and saw Deng Hua lying on the arena, retching. Lin Ke turned his body and locked his eyes on Zhu Tao like Lu Cheng. His eyes were cold and reserved. One was Lu Cheng, and the other was Lin Quebec. Zhu Tao couldn't help but feel desperate. What the hell is going on? Lin Hua also noticed the change of the situation. She stood not far away and looked at Zhu Tao with embarrassment. When Lin Ke and Lu Cheng attack me from both sides, it will be dangerous. I can't get close to them. If I join them, I will be a burden. In this case, I have nothing to do in the arena. What should I do? She seriously considered this difficult question. Chapter 188. Lin Hua didn't hesitate for long because when Lu Cheng and Lin Ke pounced on Zhu Tao from both sides like a wolf and a tiger, this fierce-looking bald tough guy swelled his dark skin, bounced his spine, and suddenly ran to the side like a rabbit being shot by an arrow. Then, he jumped out of the ring. Jumped out of the ring, the cheers of the audience stopped abruptly, and there was a moment of silence. Unexpectedly, the awe-inspiring Zhu Tao didn't even dare to try and directly admitted defeat. He was in a hurry, as if he was escaping from a dangerous place. Under the ring, Zhu Tao didn't feel ashamed at all. Instead, he felt lucky that he made a prompt decision without hesitation. If it was just Lu Cheng alone, no matter whether he had fought hard or not, he wouldn't dare to say that he had a good chance of winning. The horror of the tremor punch in succession was still fresh in people's minds. And now, Lin Ke was eyeing him like a tiger watching its prey. If he didn't admit defeat, would he stay in the ring and wait for the new year? It was not that he was timid, but that the enemy was too strong and too terrible. A wise man submits to circumstances. He thought about raising his hand to admit defeat to the referee, but considering that he had just thrown Lu Cheng's girlfriend out, he was worried that Lu Cheng would pounce on him before he could make a move. He would pretend not to know and beat him up first. So, it was safer to dodge first and take the initiative to jump out of the ring. Lu Cheng stopped where Zhu Tao was standing and watched him jump off the ring with amusement. He didn't expect that this tough-looking bald tough guy would admit defeat so quickly. He couldn't help but sigh to Lin Ke next to him. Actually, I'm close to my limit. Zhu Tao didn't need to be so scared. This was not a lie. He had just learned the frost force and was not familiar enough, so the consumption was much greater than expected. What he had prepared before was to use the frost force followed by the thunder roar zen, but his plan was disrupted by the second elephant trumpet. In order to turn the situation around in time, he had to go all out and use the second frost force. Until now, he felt that his spirit was a little empty. However, Lu Cheng didn't think that it was lucky to scare Zhu Tao away with only his momentum. If they really fought, he could still use the thunder roar zen, and his other martial arts were also at the level of professional ninth pin. Besides, he still had his brother-in-law, didn't he? Wouldn't it be great to be his assistant, slacking off and practicing the Taiping boxing? Hearing Lu Cheng's exclamation, Lin Ke turned to look at him and spat out 3 words without changing his expression. Me too. I, too, am I? Lu Cheng was stunned at first, then he came to his senses and looked at his brother-in-law in shock. He saw that his brother-in-law's eyes were dark and clear, and he didn't look like he was joking. What a coincidence. Lu Cheng couldn't help but laugh dryly. At this time, the referee raised his right hand and loudly announced, in the end, Songqing University Martial Arts Club wins. The audience let out a cheer, cheering for the victory, but also regretting that the battle had ended so quickly. The match just now was exciting enough and thrilling enough. The only problem was that it was too short. It's not satisfying, it's not satisfying. With the referee's announcement, Lu Cheng restrained all other emotions, and only the joy of victory and the shouts of bonus, bonus echoed in his heart. He raised his hand and applauded to the students on both sides of the stands. In the warm applause, he walked briskly back to the seats of the home team, clenched his fists, and bumped with Sun Jian, Li Mao, and the others one by one. When he came to Yan Zhika, he resisted the urge to hug the girl. Taking care of her thin face, he whispered with a smile, "It's all thanks to Coach Yan's ample preparation in advance." Yenjika smiled brightly, and her 2 rows of teeth were crystal clear and neat. She slightly raised her chin and said, "Humph, now you know that you won't lose by following me, right?" After saying this, she turned her head and looked to the side, pretending to be normal and said, "Your frost force is also very powerful." Hearing Yenjika's praise, Lu Qing suddenly felt satisfied and proud, as if he was happier than winning the battle just now. Moreover, even without the Jin Dan, the frost force now truly belonged to him. The qualifying bonus should be no problem, he said happily. At this moment, he had a flash of inspiration and took the opportunity to make an invitation. "After 3 months of hard work, I finally got a good result. How about we take the bonus and have a trip nearby on the 1st of May to celebrate?" Yenjika looked up and her pretty face flushed. "I have to think about it." "Think about what?" Lu Qing asked half-jokingly. He was in a very good mood. For this kind of thing, the girl didn't directly refuse, which meant that there was a great chance. "Humph, it depends on whether I like the tourist spot you choose or not. It depends on whether you are honest or not." Yenjika snorted, but there was no anger in her eyes. Gizershur looked at them silently and couldn't help but curse. "How can there be no setbacks? This bastard still doesn't come to please me. He only knows how to follow Yenjika around. I'd rather raise a dog than accept this disciple." On the side of the Azure Dragon squad, Mo Zizong and Deng Hua had been helped off the stage. One was pale and trembling, and the other was dizzy, walking unsteadily and frequently retching. While the substitutes listened to the unscrupulous cheers of the audience, they all looked sad. They felt depressed, but they also had a sense of common hatred. Songqing University Martial Arts Club is indeed very strong. Lin Ke and Lu Qing are indeed very strong. But we did have a little chance just now. It's all my fault that I underestimated Lu Qing. I didn't expect that he had mastered such a strange force. Mo Zizong took a deep breath and exhaled the chill, seriously self-reviewing. In fact, he was convinced of his defeat in the previous match. After being forced to fight recklessly, he really had no chance to defeat Lu Qing's chill force. But he couldn't say it out loud. He still had to keep hope, so that it would be easier to integrate the 4 martial arts clubs. Deng Hua followed. "I also made a mistake. Ugh, I didn't expect that Lin Ke could control his qi, blood and force. Anyway, although we lost this match, it's still honorable. If we come again next year, we may have a chance to advance in the group." Zhu Tao also put gold on his face. But when he recalled the battle just now, he still felt a lingering fear. He only felt that Lu Qing and Lin Ke's eyes were still locked on him. When they met again, they would probably be in the dance stage. In the live broadcast room of Songqing TV station, Fang Juexiao smiled bitterly. "This match is really wonderful, but it's too short. How long has it been since the fight started? Is it more than a minute?" "Almost." Ganla laughed. "Isn't there a backup match?" "It's fine as long as this match is wonderful." "You're right." Fang Juexiao nodded and said, "Old Gan, I always feel that the 2 punches Lu Qing gave Mo Zizong were a little strange. Can you give us an analysis?" Ganla nodded and said, "Okay, let's look at the screen." This is a screenshot. We can clearly see that Mo Zizong's lips are blue and his face is pale, as if he was frostbitten. And Lu Qing usually uses the 24 blizzard strikes of the unique skills of the ice sect. We have reason to believe that he has a supernatural ability or a special talent. He has already mastered one of the core forces of the unique skills of the ice sect before reaching the Dan stage. Let me explain. Martial arts moves are relatively simple without any fancy tricks before reaching the high-ranked Dan stage. The core is the technique of exerting force. Every sect has its own secret. Once it's combined with visualization and raised to the level of force, it's the core part of a unique skill. You can say that no matter which branch of the ice sect Lu Qing belongs to, he can be called a core disciple. I see. Fang Juexiao echoed. What about Lin Ke? I feel that the ability he showed today is much better than before. Gamla gave an affirmative answer. Yes, he has grasped the feeling of withdraw. I said before that he could reach the Dan stage within this year. Now I have to correct it. Maybe in the first half of this year. While listening to the explanation in the video, Yan Xiaoling posted excitedly, "Hey, who can explain to me in detail what the core force of the ice sect is?" Shiet D. Unparalleled Dragon King, and Road to the Arena, in the main post. Unparalleled Dragon King replied quickly, "Aren't you just in charge of being a love-struck fool? Why are you asking this?" Eternal Nightfall, Yan Xiaoling replied immediately, "Don't look down on me. I'm not only a love-struck fool, I'm also a love-struck fool. No, I'm also a self-deprecator." She was often ridiculed in the past, but she never got angry. Instead, she was very cooperative and dared to self-deprecate. In the fan forum of Lu Cheng, she had the title of Love-Struck Fool. I have nothing to say to that, as expected of the Northern Land Love-Struck Fool. Brahman, Unparalleled Dragon King, and other familiar IDs expressed their admiration one by one. In the end, Unparalleled Dragon King explained again in detail, the so-called something-something force is the essence of a unique skill. Without it, even if one learns physical invulnerability moves, it's just a facade. At most, one can only wield 30 to 40% of the original power. Only when a martial artist reaches the Dan stage will they come into contact with this kind of thing. At that time, they will have enough control over their body and the quality of their physical body to cultivate. The peak of the body refinement realm can barely give it a try, but it will be very difficult for the force produced to have special effects such as cold or burning. Lu Qing was able to create the effect of freezing the body before reaching the peak of the body refining stage. This means that he probably has a supernatural ability related to ice or some other special talent. Damn, I remember that he has the supernatural ability of fire. What the hell? Eternal Nightfall, Yan Xiaoling replied with a spinning expression. Thank you, Dragon King. Although I am not very clear about it, I know that it is very, very powerful. Little Nightfall, I'm even sadder. My idol has actually mastered the core force of the ice sect. I had hoped that he would join the Longhu Club after graduation and inherit the unique skills of the fire sect. Said Brahman. No matter what, he has mastered this technique. His future is limitless. Nye Chichi and the others made similar sentiments. Okamoto's fan suddenly popped up and said, "Am I the only one who noticed that Songqing University Martial Arts Club has a substitute girl who can score 9 points? You're not the only one. I was just about to send it when the competition ended." My Buddhist name is Luan Lai replied. I've been thinking about taking the college entrance exam this year, going to Songqing University and joining the martial arts club. When Yan Xiaoling saw this reply, she chuckled and muttered to herself, "I don't need to think." She tagged Unparalleled Dragon King again and asked happily, "How far do you think they can go in the preliminaries?" They have no problem getting through the group stage. But their opponents are getting stronger and stronger. I'm afraid there is no hope for them to go further. Sigh, there is still more than a month until the knockout match in May. Who knows how strong Lu Cheng and Lin Ke will be by then? I can't be so sure. Unparalleled Dragon King didn't dare to make a judgment. Shu Rui, a reporter from Songqing TV station, first interviewed the Azure Dragon squad who were in a hurry to leave. Then she came to the locker room of the home team and waited at the door to interview them one by one. The first one to open the door was Lin Quebec. Looking at him who was clean and quiet, Shu Rui's heart skipped a beat. She remembered the cold humor last time. She asked cautiously, "Lin Ke, is it convenient for you to accept the interview?" Lin Ke nodded, indicating that it was okay. Shu Rui chose her words carefully and said, "Lin Ke, when you pounced on Deng Hua just now, it was more explosive than usual. Is it because you have grasped the feeling of withdraw? Lin Ke answered seriously, "It's a secret." Secret? Secret my ass. Who can't see it? Shu Rui had the urge to go crazy. Chapter 189. Keep smiling, keep smiling. Shu Rui put on a perfect professional smile and said, then Lin K, what do you think of your performance in this match? Are you satisfied, or do you think it's not perfect enough? After asking, she blinked and looked at Lin K innocently, praying that he would stop making lame jokes. Lin K was silent for more than 10 seconds before he slowly said, just passed. Just passed? Why would you make such an evaluation? To be able to defeat a martial artist of the same level in such a short time, no matter how you evaluate it, it's enough to be called pretty good. Shu Rui keenly grasped this point and continued asking. Lin K said solemnly, when I used the first tremor punch, I wasn't fast enough and he dodged it. Although he had used the yin-yang twist to remove some of the force and borrowed some of it, his martial arts were not the means of the immortals. His own level was also not enough to remove some of the force and he could only rely on his body to resist. Because of this, he was affected to a certain extent. After using the meteor force with the leg sweep, he had to catch his breath and was half a beat slower, allowing Deng Hua to dodge it. If he had handled it better, Deng Hua might have been defeated by him in the first counterattack. With the physical fitness of the peak of the body refining stage, it's already very good for you to be able to do this. You don't have to take it to heart, right? Shu Rui said as her eyebrows relaxed. She vaguely felt that she had grasped Lin K's conversational skills. Just mention the specific details of the battle. If there's a deficiency, you have to find the reason. If the physical fitness is not good enough, you have to work hard to improve your body, Lin K said slowly. Shu Rui rolled her eyes and smiled sweetly. So, Student Lin means that you want to enter the dance stage as soon as possible and break the limits of your body? Yes. Lin K was neither humble nor arrogant. He simply nodded his head calmly. This young master is not that difficult to deal with. If I know his temper, I'll follow his instructions. I'm indeed a rare reporter. Shu Rui praised herself in her heart and asked curiously, your tremor punch seems to be a little different from Lu Cheng's tremor punch. Your skills to remove and borrow force are also different from the 24 blizzard strikes. Can you tell us their names? As soon as she finished speaking, her heart skipped a beat. She felt that she had asked the wrong question. Lin K's answer seemed to be predictable. As expected, Lin K replied faintly, that's right. It's a secret. What King secrecy? Shu Rui wanted to cover her face with her hands and let out a long sigh, but she had to maintain her composure in front of the camera. She could only watch as Lin K nodded his head slightly and walked away from the locker room. After calming herself down, Shu Rui continued to interview the members of the martial arts club who had just come out of the locker room. For example, she asked Geezer Shi what his goal was for the final ranking in the preliminaries, Sun Jian's thoughts on being defeated by the second elephant trumpet, and Lin Hua's feelings on how he had come back from the dead at the last moment. Li Mao and the others were very excited because they were about to receive a large amount of broadcasting bonus. They were very cooperative with the interview, which made Shu Rui feel relaxed. The only thing that puzzled her was that Coach Shi of Songqing University Martial Arts Club seemed to lack interest in the goal after the preliminaries. Thank you for your cooperation, Guoqing. Towards the end, Shu Rui said with a smile. Guoqing's face lit up as she hurriedly said, why are you being so polite? It's my duty, my duty. Shu Rui glanced at the locker room door a few steps away and asked casually, is Lu Qing still inside? Yes. Guoqing answered straightforwardly. Then her expression became a little strange as she added, Reporter Shu, are you waiting to interview Lu Qing? Yes, he is one of the biggest contributors to today's victory. Shu Rui said without hesitation. Guoqing opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something, but in the end, only a meaningful reminder came out, it may take a long time, it doesn't matter. It's not a live broadcast. Shu Rui smiled carelessly. The previous interview with the Azure Dragon squad was a live broadcast after the match, so she had to hurry. But now the TV station had switched to a prepared match, so the interview with the Martial Arts Club of Songqing University was put at the end. In other words, this was not a live broadcast. Since it's not a live broadcast, of course I can wait. How much longer could he dawdle? Guo looked at her deeply and said nothing more, leaving the martial arts club. In the locker room, Lu Cheng was still applying ointment to Yan Jika's arm. In the previous match, Yan Jika actually didn't fight too fiercely. Her arms were only bruised because she took Zhu Tao's punch head-on. In addition, when she was thrown out, a pair of finger marks were left on her arms, which slightly tore her fascia and muscles. But in total, there were not many places that needed to be treated. Lu Cheng was even more relaxed. In the whole match, he only hit Mo Zizong with his fist twice and crushed a few black bricks under his feet. With their strength and number of internal injuries, it would take at most a few minutes to apply the ointment and rub the ointment. But after the shower, Lu Cheng still took more than 10 minutes to finish. Seeing that the locker room was getting quieter and quieter, and all the others had left, he suddenly sped up and finished the rub. "It's your turn to help me." He smiled and handed the ointment to Yan Jika. Yan Jika rolled her eyes at him and snorted, "You're too slow." Everyone knew what Lu Cheng was thinking. Although she said so, she still took the jar of ointment, dug out a piece, and finished applying the ointment. In less than 2 minutes, everything was done. When Yan Jika was about to withdraw her hand, she heard Lu Cheng chuckle, "I have another injury, where?" Yan Jika blinked and asked blankly and concernedly. "Here." Lu Cheng opened his mouth and put the tip of his tongue to the gap between his teeth. "I was bitten when I was fighting against the elephant trumpet. I need a kiss from Coach Yan to heal." Yan Jika was angry and amused. She pursed her lips, showing her dimples, and dug a little bit of ointment with her little finger. "Come on, I'll apply it for you." Cheng is getting more and more shameless. While speaking, her hand had already reached over. Lu Cheng burst into laughter and immediately said, "I'm wrong, Coach Yan, don't do this." His right hand reached out, drawing a beautiful half-arc, and grabbed the girl's wrist, as if to stop her. Yan Jika was suddenly interested. She exploded the strength of her shoulders, elbows, and wrists, and accelerated to escape from Lu Cheng's grasp. She was going to apply the ointment on his mouth. How could Lu Cheng's big and small hand wrap be broken so easily? With a shake of his shoulder, he threw out his right hand to grab the girl's forearm. Yan Jika bit her lower lip, eyes bright, and joined in with Lu Cheng with her left hand, practicing grappling kung fu with him. For a moment, the wind between them was fierce, and their hands were pointing at each other. It was very lively. The result was as expected. Yan Jika, who had only practiced grappling kung fu slightly, was caught by Lu Cheng on both wrists. "You don't even let me." Yan Jika gasped for breath and said with a righteous smile. Her oval face was flushed because of the exercise, and there was a thin layer of sweat on her forehead. "It's so interesting to play with such a hidden practice." She finished her words in a light tone, but found that Lu Cheng didn't answer. He just looked at her attentively and passionately. What are you looking at?" Her wrists were caught by Lu Cheng, and her face was stared at by him. Suddenly, Yan Jika felt inexplicably flustered. Lu Cheng swallowed his saliva and said, "Ku, is the tip of your tongue also hurt?" "Yes." Yan Jika's eyes flickered. "Let me help you," Lu Cheng murmured. He pulled the girl over and held her in his arms. Then he let go of her wrist and hugged her shoulder. He lowered his head and kissed her on her tender lips. Yan Jika gently patted his shoulders with her hands, then closed her eyes and put her hands on his shoulders. At this moment, there was a sudden knock on the door of the locker room. Knock, knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock. Yan Jika seemed to have come to her senses. She pushed Lu Cheng away, lowered her head, gasped, and quickly tidied her clothes. Lu Cheng was very annoyed and unhappy. He controlled his tone and asked in a low voice, "Who is it?" Knocking on the door at this time would incur the wrath of heaven. Outside the locker room, a pleasant female voice came in. "Lu Cheng, I'm Shu Roy, a reporter from Songqing TV station. Is it convenient for you to accept an interview?" "Not convenient." Lu Cheng wanted to answer like this, but considering the repeated warnings of the school's publicity department and the fact that he and Yenjika had just done something bad and were blocked in the locker room, he took a deep breath and said, "Then wait for a few minutes." He had to wait for a few minutes because his martial arts pants were too loose. Once it was pushed up, his outline would be obvious. His lower body was so distinct and outstanding now. If he walked out like this, he might lose face in front of tens of millions of people in Songcheng and fans in his own forum. Then he might as well buy a piece of tofu and kill himself. Okay. Shu Rui held back her impatience and answered. How could Lu Qing be so slow? How long has it been? What on earth is he doing in the locker room? Wait a minute, his beautiful girlfriend didn't seem to come out. Lu Qing calmed down and visualized the condensation stance, but his lower body was still stubborn and didn't give him any face. I can only take a cold shower. He gritted his teeth and rushed to the bathroom cubicle with the tent. He quickly took off his clothes and turned on the tap. Yenjika, who was sitting on the bench, peeked at all this. She laughed so hard that she couldn't stand straight. She gently beat the space beside her and whispered shyly and happily, "You asked for it, you asked for it." At the same time, a sentence flashed in her mind from the internet, "Who told you to be reckless?" After the cold shower and the tent, Lu Qing put on his clothes and glanced at Yenjika. He opened the door of the locker room and walked out. Clang. Close the door behind you, good boy. Shu Rui held back her laughter and said, "Sorry to disturb you. The match over there is more than half done. I have to finish the interview as soon as possible. Humph, I'm also a college girl with a boyfriend. How could I not know what you are doing? You don't have to be so polite. Just ask." What was done couldn't be undone. Lu Cheng's anger could only turn into deep helplessness. Shu Rui was secretly happy as if she had caught someone's weakness. She smiled and said, "Lu Cheng, the 2 punches you used to hit Mo Zizong today seem to be very special. It was different from all the martial arts you have used before. Is it a new trump card?" "Yes." Lu Cheng answered frankly. Anyone who had watched the match carefully would have noticed this. He had nothing to hide. Shu Rui nodded with satisfaction and continued to ask, "When I interviewed Mo Zizong, I found that he was still swaying and his face was blue. It seemed that he was hurt by a strong cold. Does this mean that you have mastered a unique skill of the ice sect?" "Not really. I've just mastered it." Lu Qing wasn't being modest. He was telling the truth. The real frost force could freeze Mo Zizong with just 1 punch, and cause his body to be covered with white frost for a short time. His mastery of Thunder Roar Zen and Frost Force was too fast, and his mastery was still limited to a superficial level, which was not comparable to 24 Blizzard Strikes. Look. Look. His answer was so honest. If he did, he did. If he didn't, he didn't. Compared to Lu Qing, Shu Rui suddenly had the impulse to clench her fists and cry. She looked at Lu Qing with gratitude, which made him feel confused. As far as I know, even in the Danchi state, there are many shortcomings in the similar force. If you want to master it in the body refining state and make such a strong cold, you must have a corresponding supernatural ability or special talent, right? Shu Rui followed this topic and asked again. Lu Qing smiled and said, "Can I choose to keep it a secret? Let others guess what's going on with me." Shu Rui was so moved that she wanted to cry. Look at him, he was so polite about keeping it a secret. "Of course you can." She answered with a faint smile and then changed the topic to interview other things. It didn't take long for the interview to end. Lu Qing immediately waved his hand and ran into the locker room without looking back. Clang. Hearing the door of the locker room close, Shu Rui was stunned. She couldn't help but take back her handbag from the cameraman. She took out a small mirror and carefully looked at her own face. Is it because I've been staying up too late recently that my appearance has deteriorated a lot? Otherwise, why does one run away like he's hiding from a monster without saying anything unnecessary, and the other one has no tender feelings for the fairer sex? He's always expressionless. If he can use 2 words, he won't say more than 3. He often blocks her mouth with 1 sentence. As an outstanding beauty, Shu Rui could feel the kindness of society from time to time since her eyebrows and eyes grew. It didn't matter if she only bought a standing ticket on the train. Most of the time, there would be good Samaritans who would give up their seats. It didn't matter if she forgot to bring some change. The success rate of borrowing money from others was quite high, nothing changed. Shu Rui looked at it repeatedly and made a conclusion. In the blink of an eye, she left the martial arts stadium with the cameraman in a hurry. In the locker room, Lu Qing saw that Yan Zhika had already packed up and was waiting for him. "You're going back now?" He was a little expectant. Yan Zhika glanced at him and suddenly said softly, "You're so tired. You'd better go back and sleep for a while." "You can tell?" Lu Qing thought that he had successfully concealed it. It was really tiring to use Frost Force twice when he wasn't familiar with it. "Of course, I'm a famous detective." Yan Zhika smiled and walked to Lu Qing. She raised her arms, stretched out her hands and gently massaged his temples a few times. While Lu Qing was enjoying the relief of the swelling pain, the girl suddenly tiptoed and gave him a quick peck on the mouth with her pink lips. Then Yan Zhika turned around and put her hands behind her back. She pretended to be normal and said, "Let's go." "Okay." Lu Qing unconsciously showed a smile. Back in the dormitory, Lu Qing was about to walk to the small bedroom when he suddenly heard the sound of someone rushing up the stairs. The footsteps were so familiar that he subconsciously stopped and waited. Soon, the door opened. Talker, Kai Zongming, walked in briskly, humming a little song. "Casanova, you just came back?" Lu Qing asked with a little surprise and a smile. He and Ku had been delayed for so long. Little Ming, who had left the martial arts stadium after the competition, actually came back after him. Where did he run off to? Kai Zongming laughed and said, "Qing, I have a good news and a bad news." "Which one do you want to hear first?" "The bad news." Lu Qing answered indifferently. Seeing that Talker couldn't hide his joy, the bad news couldn't be too bad. Kai Zongming laughed and said, "Today I saw you beat a strong professional 9th pin fighter in the martial arts stadium with only 2 punches. I was so excited that I couldn't calm down. After the competition, I ran to the lake to do my stance training. This is good news, right? You really don't work hard without being excited." Lu Qing imitated Kai Zongming's tone and laughed. "When did I not work hard? I was ravaged by the gorilla several times every day. Do you think it's easy for me?" Kai Zongming retorted as if he couldn't bear to recall the past. Okay. You work hard." Lu Qing deliberately answered perfunctorily. "What's the good news?" "Good news?" Kai Zongming suddenly raised his voice. "I succeeded in meditation just now. Ha ha ha, I'm really a genius." He imitated a comic character and laughed. Lu Qing was pleasantly surprised. He walked half a circle around Kai Zongming and said, "I didn't see it. You entered meditation just like that?" "What do you mean just like that?" Kai Zongming laughed and said, "A freak like you won't understand the bitterness of my months of hard work before I succeeded in meditation. No wonder he's the talker who was mentioned by his master as having some talent. When he gets serious, he's still very powerful." Lu Qing was secretly happy for his friend, but he attacked him verbally. If you had the awareness during this period of time, you would have succeeded in meditation before the winter vacation. Kai Zongming didn't mind at all. He laughed and said, "Qing, a bunch of idioms are flashing in my mind." "Which ones?" Lu Qing asked curiously. Kai Zongming coughed and said, "Amaze the world with a single brilliant feat, soar to the sky, like a fish leaping over the dragon gate, like an ignorant person, a scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at with new eyes, how can a golden fish be a fish in a pond?" Lu Qing replied. "As the 4th person in the martial arts club to master meditation, before the end of this semester, I will strive for the amateur 3rd pin, and at least the amateur second pin when the next semester starts. Kai Zhongming thought in high spirits. He ignored Lu Qing, took out his phone, and rushed to the balcony to tell his girlfriend the good news. Good. Looking at his back, Lu Qing smiled from the bottom of his heart. I'm getting better, and so are my friends. How delightful. In next year's university martial arts competition, Talker might even be able to compete for the reserve seat. Back in the small dormitory, Lu Qing took off his clothes and lay on the bed. He chatted with Yan Zhika for a while and was about to take a nap when suddenly a message popped up from the other side of the cloud. This was the QQ nickname of his aunt's eldest daughter, Qi Yunfei. Brother Lu Qing, are you there? Asked the other side of the cloud. Lu Qing replied with a smiley face, what's up, Feifei? He often chatted with his cousins on QQ, and also had a group for his brothers and sisters. Brother Lu Qing, I heard from my aunt that you joined the martial arts club in Songqing University, and you're pretty good at it? Qi Yunfei asked with a lively face. Pfft, Mom's mouth. Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. He criticized in his heart and humbly replied, it's okay. Mom didn't seem to like him practicing martial arts, and she even bragged about it to his cousins. Qi Yunfei said weakly, I have something to ask you, Brother Lu Qing. Ask? So formal. Lu Qing was stunned and replied generously, go ahead. My boyfriend doesn't want to enter high school. He wants to go to the martial arts club to learn martial arts. Brother Lu Qing, what do you think? Qi Yunfei said. What do you think? Lu Qing considered his tone and replied, it depends on whether he really likes it or just wants to avoid studying. Even if he really likes it, it depends on whether he has the perseverance and persistence. If he can do it, learning martial arts is also a good way out. As for talent, as long as he was ordinary, there was still hope for him to reach the amateur first pin. At that time, it wouldn't be difficult to find a middle upper level job in Shushan and Ningxue. Qi Yunfei was silent for a while and said, he really likes it, but I can't tell whether he has the perseverance and persistence. I'm afraid he will be cheated by those unreliable martial arts clubs. Which martial arts club does he want to go to? Tell me, I'll ask someone to find out. Lu Qing replied casually. He felt that he had some connections in the Shushan martial arts circle. Qin Rui's Gushan martial arts club was one of the best in Shushan. Chapter 190. Qi Yunfei immediately cheered and said, good, I'll ask him. While waiting for her reply, Lu Qing found Qin Rui's QQ and sent him a message, Qin Rui, are you there? I have something to ask you. In less than a minute, Qi Yunfei said eagerly, it's called Yao Ning Martial Arts Club. He said it's a very good club in Ningxue. Brother Lu Qing, go and ask him, okay. Seeing that Qin Rui's QQ didn't respond, Lu Qing opened his address book and called him. After the classic ringtone, the phone was connected. Qin Rui was surprised and happy. Qing. Why do you suddenly want to call me? Are you back in Shushan? No, I have something to ask you. Lu Qing answered with a smile, have you heard of Yao Ning Martial Arts Club? Yes, I know. What's wrong? Did they annoy you? Qin Rui was a little surprised and a little confused. Lu Qing thought about how to describe the relationship between the two parties and said after some consideration, a relative's child doesn't want to enter high school and plans to enter the Yaoning Martial Arts Club after graduating from junior high school. That's why I'm here to ask you about the details of their family. Yaoning Martial Arts Club, how to say? It's okay. I've seen the club owner several times. He's of amateur first pin. Several of his disciples are also good. They teach students diligently. It's one of the best martial arts clubs in Ningxue. Qin Rui answered while thinking. Lu Qing was relieved and said, then I'm relieved. At this time, Qin Rui hissed and smiled, what are you relieved about? If he really wants to learn martial arts, why don't he come to Gushan Martial Arts Club? We don't dare to say we're the best in Shushan, but we're definitely in the top 3. We're better than Yao Ning in every aspect. Don't worry, with me here, he'll definitely sign up. I'll help you look after him and guide him. The fees collected from the students were one of the main economic pillars of the martial arts school. Logically speaking, the martial arts school should not refuse them. However, this was not the case. It involved a very important figure, the passing rate of the ranking event. The number of instructors in a martial arts school was limited, so was the number of students they could instruct wholeheartedly. If they recruited students blindly, they would exceed this limit, which would lead to a serious decline in the teaching quality, which would worsen the passing rate of the ranking event. This would easily lead the martial arts school into a vicious cycle. The passing rate would continue to decline, and the good students would choose other martial arts schools. Without good students, the passing rate would continue to worsen. Because of this, all the martial arts dojos knew to set a threshold and stop before going too far. This caused the best martial arts dojos in an area to be in short supply, causing people to scramble like ducks. It does sound better. Lu Qing said modestly. Will it be too difficult for you? What's so difficult about it? Who do you think we are? Qin Rui patted his chest and said, just give him my phone number and let him contact me directly. You don't have to go through all that trouble. Okay. I'll treat you to a meal when I come back to Shushan during the summer vacation. Lu Qing said gratefully. He didn't ask how many teams in Shushan were doing in the preliminaries, because according to Qin Rui's usual posts about his mood and other things, it was obvious that they didn't have a good result. As for Qin Rui himself, he was still some distance away from the amateur first pin, so he didn't plan to participate in the 2 amateur ranking events in the first half of the year. After chatting for a while, Lu Qing hung up the phone and sent a smiley emoji to Qi Yunfei. Ask your boyfriend if he wants to go to Gushan Martial Arts School. Ho ho ho. Qi Yunfei didn't know much about martial arts, so she casually replied. A few minutes later, she sent a shocked emoji. Who wouldn't want to go if he said he could? Brother Lu Qing, do you really have a way? According to her boyfriend's description, the places of Gushan Martial Arts School seemed to be very popular. Her cousin was just a college student, so how could he have any ability and connections? Did her uncle know someone in Gushan Martial Arts School? Lu Qing sent her his phone number. Let him call this number. Qin Rui, an inner disciple of Gushan Martial Arts School, can help him sign up. Really? Qi Yunfei couldn't believe it. If Qin Rui dared to lie to me, he wouldn't want to live anymore. Lu Qing laughed secretly and said seriously, it must be true. As for whether he will cheat your boyfriend of his money, I can't guarantee. Tell him to be careful. Got it. Qi Yunfei didn't send an emoji, as if she was anxious to let her boyfriend make the call. While waiting for the follow-up, Lu Qing resisted the sleepiness and began to browse the tourism projects around Songqing. He wanted to pick out the routes that Yan Jika might like and make a detailed guide, so as not to leave a bad impression on the girl. He was looking forward to it. He wasn't excited about the possibility of more intimate contact. Instead, he felt that traveling together, experiencing new and interesting things together, and uncovering some aspects that were previously suppressed due to being in a familiar environment together would strengthen their relationship and make them feel more at ease. According to talkers' sayings, a relationship needed to be managed. It was not something that could be done without doing anything once it was in hand. But if they were always cautious and careful with each other, sooner or later they would be tired. While comparing and analyzing the different routes, Lu Qing opened Taobao and bought several things in the shopping cart. Some were snacks for Yan Jika, and some were for him to show off his skills. After a while, Qi Yunfei replied, Brother Lu Qing, what he said is true. He knows Brother Rui. He said that Brother Rui is a core disciple of Gushan Martial Arts School and a very powerful young fighter. He can definitely help. That's good. Lu Qing replied with a smile. Qi Yunfei sent an admiring emoji. Brother Lu Qing, you are so awesome to know such a powerful person. Should it be the other way around? It should be Qin Rui who is so awesome to know such a powerful person like me. Lu Qing complained and said carelessly, he is my high school classmate. No wonder. Chi Yunfei suddenly understood and didn't ask anymore. Lu Qing said with interest, Feifei, you are very attentive to your boyfriend. Of course, after all, he is the first boy that I really like. Chi Yunfei laughed. Really? Lu Cheng was a little confused. Chi Yunfei scratched her head and said with an embarrassed emoji, I had a boyfriend before. Sister, you are only in the 3rd year of middle school. Lu Cheng was really shocked. When was that? When I was in the 5th or 6th grade and the 1st or 2nd grade of elementary school. Chi Yunfei explained confidently, at that time, I was a child and didn't know anything. I thought it was fun and tried it. It's all their fault for making a match. But it's just holding hands. It feels like we're playing house. I don't think it's a real relationship. Lu Qing wiped his non-existent cold sweat and said, you are still a child now. Look at her, and then think about his own elementary and middle school years. He was as ignorant as her brother. He was scared and didn't persuade Chi Yunfei. After a few words, he logged out of QQ and took a nap. In the next few weeks, Gieserscher didn't force any setbacks. When facing the last 2 opponents in the group, he let Lu Cheng and Lin Kei sit at the end of the group respectively. Then he sent Li Mao, Yan Zhika, Sun Jian and Lin Hua to fight in turns. The final result was no doubt that Songqing University Martial Arts Club won all the matches and advanced to the next round with a winning record. Now they were waiting for the distribution of the broadcasting bonus and the drawing of the top 8 opponents in May. In the blink of an eye, it was the second last weekend of April. At 7:30 in the morning, Lu Cheng and Yan Zhika were already on the school bus to the old campus. I didn't expect that my first martial arts special training would be because of you. Yan Zhika said with a sigh and a sweet voice. Today was the day that Lu Cheng would participate in the professional ranking event. As his girlfriend, she felt that she shouldn't miss it, so she specially asked for leave and accompanied him as Coach Yan. Of course, she wouldn't slack off martial arts because of love. She deliberately got up early and did nearly 2 hours of morning exercises. Lu Cheng was very happy and moved, but he said with a smile, actually, you can ask for leave next Sunday. I'm sure I can get through the group stage. Professional 9th pin was the threshold to distinguish between amateur and professional. The setting of the competition emphasized to reduce the influence of accidental factors, so that fighters with enough strength could have a chance to regroup even if they lost once. Therefore, the top 2 fighters would get through the group stage. Fighters wouldn't be eliminated after losing 1 match. Even if Lu Cheng wasn't conceded, he wouldn't think that he couldn't even get the 2nd place in the group stage. Hearing Lu Cheng's words, Yan Zhika immediately raised her arm and said cheerfully, then I'll go back to the martial arts club? Lu Cheng was almost speechless. He felt that he shouldn't be hypocritical, so he immediately said with a cheeky smile, I still need Coach Yan to take charge. I'm afraid that I'll be assigned to the death group because of my bad luck. Yan Zhika glanced at him with a smile, at least you know your place. After that, she sighed, I'm really worried. With so many matches, maybe something will happen. She suddenly raised her hand and covered her mouth, not letting the word accident come out. That was almost a jinx. Due to the setting of the top 2 fighters in the group stage and the fixed passing ratio, the schedule of the ranking event of professional 9th pin was increased accordingly. It usually took up 2 weekends, a full 4 days. Like this time, the number of people who passed the registration review was 158. There were 15 places. They were divided into 15 groups of 10 to 11 people in each group. It was a single round-robin competition. The top 2 fighters would get through. According to the rhythm of 3 matches a day at most, the group stage would be finished on the morning of next Saturday or Sunday. Because 1 step was enough to become a professional, all aspects of the treatment would be improved substantially. Therefore, as long as the amateur first-pin fighters' physical fitness hadn't deteriorated and they didn't have other things to do, they would often choose to try their luck. What if they encountered a good group and a good draw for the knockout round? Therefore, the number of people who signed up for the ranking event of professional 9th pin was quite large. If there were no restrictions, the number of people who passed would exceed the limit, resulting in a flood. Therefore, there was a qualification examination. The applicants had to submit proof that they had defeated at least 2 amateur first-pin fighters in the past year. Lu Qing directly posted a video of him defeating a professional 9th pin fighter and passed smoothly. Seeing the girl covering her mouth in panic, Lu Qing was about to make a joke when he saw the flying eyebrows gorilla Chen Zhonghua carrying a luggage bag and stepping on the school bus. President Chen, I thought you lived near the arena last night. He greeted him. Chen Zhonghua was still the president of the martial arts club in name. Well, I have a few friends living there. I was afraid that they would take me there to relax. Chen Zhonghua smiled bitterly and found a seat. He didn't say anything and closed his eyes to rest. He was quite cautious. Compared with him, Lu Qing suddenly felt that he was too relaxed. When they arrived at the number 1 hall of Songqing Martial Arts Club, it was already crowded. There were fighters participating in the competition, relatives and friends cheering for them, and spectators who came specially to watch this kind of quasi-professional competition. After waiting in line for a few minutes, Lu Qing received the group information and started to read it with Yan Jika's head. Zhao Baosen, Putua Martial Arts Club, Lu Xian, Bin branch of Songqing Police Station. They all seemed to be quite strong. After browsing once, Lu Qing said with a smile. There was no trace of embarrassment between his eyebrows. At another service desk in the number 1 hall, the strong and tough Zhao Baosen also received the group information. He read it carefully and his eyes suddenly froze. He blurted out, Lu Qing. Lu Qing of Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Lu Xian, who had changed out of his police uniform, didn't hurry to read the group information. After wandering to a quiet place, he picked up the paper and glanced at it habitually. Lu Qing, Songqing University Martial Arts Club, clatter. Lu Xian's fingers holding the edge of the paper became like iron hooks. Zhao Baosen practices 8 trigrams palm and crane shape on the side. Yan Jika said in a clear and soft voice. Lu Qing didn't dare to be careless, so he started to discuss with his girlfriend seriously. At this moment, he heard his name on the radio, Lu Qing of Songqing University Martial Arts Club, please come to the service desk. Lu Qing and Yan Jika looked at each other, both dumbfounded. Putting away their phones, they left their seats and went to the nearest service desk. Hello, I'm Lu Qing of Songqing University Martial Arts Club. What can I do for you? Lu Qing asked politely. The staff was a girl with a round face. She looked at Lu Qing deeply and said, your opponent in the morning match forfeited. Forfeited? Lu Qing was stunned for a moment. Before he could answer, he heard the staff member continue. Your opponent in the afternoon and evening also forfeited. In the corner of the number 1 hall, Zhao Baosen covered his face with both hands and let out a long sigh. As a martial artist, it was really humiliating and depressing to surrender when facing a strong enemy without a fight, but after careful consideration, he felt that this was the best choice for him. Everyone had witnessed the strength of Lu Qing from the Songqing University Martial Arts Club. They all knew that he was one of the best among the professional 9th pin fighters. It was widely acknowledged that he had already secured a place in the martial arts competition. If Lu Qing were to face him as an amateur who had not yet entered the professional level, it was easy to imagine how low his chances of winning would be. In such a high-density and high-intensity competition, there was no point in fighting against such a strong opponent who had almost no hope other than wasting time and energy. There was even the risk of minor injuries and residual effects. Since that was the case, it was best to strategically give up, save some energy, and fight for second place with the contestants behind him. That was the most rational and sensible decision. Almost at the same time, the fighters who received the group information all had the same idea. With Lu Qing's abnormal physical strength, it didn't matter if he had gone through a tough battle or not. They might as well make a decision as early as possible and completely cut off their escape route so that they could fight with their backs against the wall. Forfeit? It was hard for Lu Qing to describe his current mood. Winning without a fight was definitely something to be happy about. However, He had come all the way here with great difficulty and had a serious discussion with his opponent. In the end, his opponent had given up on the spot, causing his fist, which he had clenched with all his strength, to miss. Did they forfeit all the matches or just my match? He asked subconsciously. He knew it was very common for fighters of professional ninth pin to forfeit in the ranking event, but it usually happened in the second week. Some fighters would get hurt because of the high-intensity fights, while some would lose more than 3 matches in the first week and feel hopeless, so they didn't bother to waste time coming here again. The staff said with a professional smile, "They only forfeited the match with you." Before her voice died away, she glanced at the new message that popped up on the computer screen in front of her. She was surprised and looked at Lu Cheng as if he was a monster. Your 3 matches tomorrow have also forfeited. What the hell is this?" She had been working in the martial arts club for 3 years, but this was the first time she had encountered such a thing. Just the mention of a name could make a lot of fighters forfeit automatically. Yen Jika listened with eager eyes and couldn't help but chuckle. "Cheng, I suddenly remembered 2 sentences that I read before." "What are they?" Lu Cheng held back his disappointment and asked curiously. "Make the enemy flee at the sight of you, and a certain name can stop children crying at night." Yen Jika answered with a smile. Lu Cheng exhaled and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "I think so. But I'm still not used to winning just like that." He paused and looked at the girl. "Where are we going next?" Yen Jika answered solemnly, "You're right. Back to the martial arts club for special training, of course." "Ah." Lu Cheng was stunned. Yen Jika burst into laughter. "Since you don't want to go back, I'll invite you to a date. Anyway, I won't go to the hotel with you. You don't need to rest." "Okay." Lu Cheng turned from being stunned to being happy. But he felt a little heartache because he had to pay for the rooms he booked. Why did those guys give up their rights for no reason? Although he was about to get 20,000 yuan, he still saved as much as he could and was only generous to his girlfriend. After confirming the itinerary, he turned to the staff and asked, "Can you inform me in advance if my opponent forfeits next week's match?" He didn't want to waste another trip on Saturday. Although this could give him more time to date with Ku, he felt guilty that she always asked for leave and delayed her martial arts and learning. He didn't need Empress Dowager to pressure him. "Sorry, we have no choice. We can only inform you if someone forfeits, right?" The round-faced girl replied with grievance. Next week, although the number of forfeitures would increase, it didn't mean that Lu Cheng wouldn't have opponents willing to challenge him in the group stage. After all, at the final juncture, some people might be only 1 win away from qualifying, while others were hopeless and were willing to fight strong opponents to gain experience. Okay. Lu Cheng could only accept this reality helplessly. It was a reality that others yearned for. On a Saturday in the last week of April, Lu Cheng received the notice in advance that his opponents in the morning and evening had forfeited, so he went to the competition venue after the special training of the martial arts club. After waiting for nearly 2 hours, he spent more than a minute and easily defeated a challenger. The next morning, his opponent had already given up because of the injury in the previous match. After letting him do the same low-intensity training, he and Yen Jika went to the number 1 hall of Songqing Martial Arts Stadium to wait for the result of the draw. After 1 more match, he would be a certified professional 9th pin fighter. While waiting, they saw Chen Zhonghua, who couldn't hide his tiredness. "Are you okay?" Lu Cheng asked. He had congratulated this teammate who was about to become the former president in the morning for winning the 2nd place in the group. Chen Zhonghua exhaled and his expression was unprecedentedly solemn. "I have to bear with it. Besides, look at the others. Most of them are in the same condition as me. If their luck is not too bad, they won't waste the hard work of half a year." Sensing Chen Zhonghua's seriousness and expectation, Lu Cheng didn't want to say anything more in case it would affect the mood of others. So he withdrew his gaze, held Yen Jika's hand and looked at the big screen, waiting for the result of the draw. The draw in the afternoon was between 10 people, and those in the same group would avoid it. After a while, lines of matchups were displayed. Yen Jika read Lu Cheng's part in a low voice, Lu Qing from Songqing University Martial Arts Club vs Pan Qingyun from Hongluo Martial Arts School, Pan Qingyun? Lu Qing smiled slightly, feeling that it was quite a coincidence. Lu Qing from Songqing University Martial Arts Club vs Pan Qingyun from Hongluo Martial Arts School. In the corner, Pan Qingyun looked at the matchup list and his face suddenly changed. He had tried so hard to win the group competition, but unexpectedly he met this guy. P.S. 2 chapters in 1, begging for monthly votes. Go home after today's meeting. Resume tomorrow. Also, Weixin Wuze 1985 is having a New Year's Day celebration. Chapter 191. Pan Qingyun? The one my brother defeated? Yan Zhika looked up and tried to recall who her boyfriend's opponent was. If Hongluo Martial Arts School was not mentioned, she would not remember anything related to it. After all, she was hiding in the locker room and applying ointment for Lu Qing, so she did not see the fight. She only heard that her cousin defeated the opponent in 2 moves. Lu Qing smiled and said, "It should be. Didn't we read the information of Hongluo Martial Arts School before the competition? I always remember that they have a main force called Pan something. It's probably him. Then he's improved really fast. He was just an ordinary amateur first pin when he competed with us. Now he's qualified in the group and has the strength of a quasi-professional in less than 3 months." Yenjika said with some envy and some emotion. The actual combat training in the preliminaries has helped him a lot. It was a pity that she had only fought 5 matches for 3 times. Maybe his luck was better in the grouping? Lu Qing answered casually. He did not have any hope of advancing from the group in the preliminaries, so he did not care about the details of other matches. At most, he just glanced at the results. When Songqing University Martial Arts Club won consecutive victories and was expected to win the first place in the group, their only opponent would be Azure Dragon Squad. Once they won, the results of other matches would be irrelevant. In this case, Lu Qing did not have time and energy to pay attention to the matches of Hongluo Squad. He would rather care about his girlfriend and put more effort into his studies. That's true. Yenjika nodded thoughtfully and then deliberately put on a serious face, but you can't be careless. There is still more than an hour. You have to look for his combat videos in the preliminaries. Do you understand? Yes. Coach Yen is right. Lu Qing answered with a smile. Holding the girl's hand, he found a high place in the stands and looked for Pan Qingyun's combat videos separately with her. Did he need to search for Lu Qing's information? Every match during the preliminaries was deeply engraved in his mind. He had mastered the tremor punch and the ice sect force step by step. He had witnessed the whole process from the combat strength of professional 9th pin to the top of professional 9th pin. How could he win against such an opponent? How could he win against such an opponent? If it was at the beginning of the preliminaries, Pan Qingyun believed that it was possible for him to win if he had a good understanding of his opponent. But now, he had no confidence at all. It was like facing a professional 8th pin expert in the Dan stage. He could only pin his hope on the opponent's carelessness and underestimation, or that there would be an accident before the competition and he would not perform well on the spot. Thanks to senior brother Zhang's injury, she had been tested in the preliminaries and had grown a lot. If she hadn't met an old enemy in the group stage and been restrained by her fighting style, she would have definitely been able to win the first place. However, compared to Lu Qing's progress, her improvement was simply incomparable. I don't have any way to weaken his ice sect force. I can only rely on my physical fitness to resist it. Even if I face tremor punch, I won't be able to take more than 2 or 3 hits. Pan Qingyun exhaled and returned to normal. Since he had come this far, he could not give up the professional 9th pin certificate that was so close at hand. Especially last year, many competitions were held in Songqing and its surrounding areas, which allowed many fighters to pass the examination. As a result, there were 15 places for fighters of professional 9th pin. For those with strength, this was a rare opportunity. It should be noted that if there were extreme situations, such as the martial arts school's ability fighters who had already obtained the certificate and the previous year's competition organization was not enough, there would only be a few places for the professional 9th pin ranking event. In the past few decades of ranking events, the most extreme situation in Songqing was when only 20 fighters passed the examination to compete for 2 places. Many fighters with professional strength could only fight against each other head-on. I can only fight with a wandering battle instead of an explosive collision, Pan Qingyun made the final decision. This was a fighting style that he was not good at, but it was also a choice that he had to make. Hey, he has been a professional for a long time. Yan Zhika exclaimed in a low voice while watching. Then she turned her head to look at Lu Cheng. She was holding a tablet, and beside her was a mobile Wi-Fi specially bought for such occasions. Lu Cheng touched the stubble on his chin and said amusedly, "He hid his strength really well. Was it because he was caught off guard by your brother's meteor force? If it were before, he would have been on guard when he knew Pan Qingyun's real strength. But now, it didn't matter whether he was a professional or not. Maybe." Yan Zhika rolled her eyes and suddenly burst into a smile. She said with a laugh, "Pan Qingyun might have wanted to catch my brother off guard, but he lost before he could do anything. He must have felt very depressed and wronged." Using the word wronged, she suddenly felt that the poor Pan Qingyun was a little cute. Lu Cheng said with a smile, "No matter how wronged he is, I have to fight seriously." While talking, he fast-forwarded the competition video and fixed the scene on the screen. "What are you looking at?" Yan Zhika craned her neck, leaned over and asked curiously. Lu Cheng said with a smile, "Didn't you just say that when facing me, Pan Qingyun is most likely to choose to move around and fight? Of course, I have to study his habitual dodging direction." This was the problem of habit that his master had mentioned. Just like how he habitually chose the left side in his daily life, if he still had such a habit in battle and was discovered by others, it would be easy for him to be targeted and set up a trap, thus falling into a dangerous situation. Fortunately, his master had pointed this out when he had little actual combat experience and hadn't formed a habit yet. Habit. Yan Zhika's lips slightly opened and she suddenly understood. She looked at Lu Cheng's side face and clearly felt her boyfriend's talent in fighting again. "I also have to pay attention to my own habits." She opened her eyes wide and looked at Lu Cheng's phone screen. "Did you find anything?" "Of course." Lu Cheng said with a little complacency. When given the choice, Pan Qingyun dodged to the right at least 8 times out of 10. "Cheng." Yan Zhika suddenly called out in a crisp voice. Lu Cheng looked at her sideways and said blankly, "What? You are so awesome." Yan Zhika clapped her hands and smiled like a flower. "Hey, don't be so exaggerated." Lu Cheng burst out laughing. Yan Zhika showed her dimples and smiled, "I learned from you." At 3:30 in the afternoon, Lu Cheng stepped into the arena and stood on both sides of the referee with Pan Qingyun. "To be honest, I didn't expect you to be a professional." He sighed with emotion. Hearing this, Pan Qingyun almost burst into tears. "You only know this now." He took a breath and kept his cold and fierce face. "I also didn't expect to meet you directly. Does God want me to continue to be an amateur first pin fighter?" Lu Cheng didn't provoke him anymore. He closed his eyes and finally adjusted his body state. After a while, the referee looked at the electronic clock, raised his right hand and waved it down heavily. "Start." Lu Cheng exerted strength in his legs and suddenly straightened his bent knees. He rushed out like a gust of wind and shortened the distance between him and his opponent in the blink of an eye. Pan Qingyun was as calm as water. He moved his back muscles and made a sliding step to the right to avoid a head-on collision with his opponent. But at the same time, Lu Cheng's spine suddenly bounced like a dragon, turning its body and swinging its center of gravity to the left. He even changed direction before his opponent. In an instant, Pan Qingyun was walking into a trap. He saw Lu Cheng stomping his feet violently and swinging his waist and back violently. His fist was about to hit. "Damn it!" Pan Qingyun murmured. He could only clench his teeth and make a visualization. He clamped his hip muscles and stimulated his tailbone to spring. He suddenly rushed to the side as if his body was on fire. Lu Qing didn't show any mercy. He stomped his feet and broke the black bricks. He followed Pan Qingyun and rushed forward. Pan Qingyun had just landed on the ground when he sensed that his opponent was nearby. He had to lower his center of gravity and bounce back. He bulged his muscles and completed the first outbreak of the fire-like invasion. He suddenly turned around and fiercely poked back with his right arm like a big spear. Lu Cheng's fist, which had been accumulating power for a long time, suddenly hit out. In his mind was a frozen river, and in his body, cold waves were surging with torrential momentum. Bang! When the two fists collided, Lu Cheng's body shook. Pan Qingyun felt the coldness spread from his arm to his whole body and froze his muscles and fascia. His face immediately turned blue and his body trembled involuntarily. When he wanted to summon up his remaining strength to avoid his opponent's continuous attacks, the strength of his legs was obviously slowed down. Lu Cheng's arm shook and his fist stopped at Pan Qingyun's throat. Then he heard the referee's announcement, "Lu Qing wins." Pan Qingyun shivered. He suddenly remembered that when he fought with Lin Ke, he was also defeated in 2 moves. He had worked hard for more than 2 months. Why was it still 2 moves? This was an expected victory. Lu Qing didn't feel too ecstatic. He was full of ease and celebrated with yen jika in the air. Then he nodded to Pan Qingyun and turned around to leave the stand. He didn't say anything because he felt that saying anything would hurt this friend of his. He really dodged to the right. Yen Jika looked at Pan Qingyun sympathetically and then forgot about him. She hugged Lu Qing and celebrated with her bright eyes. Lu Qing got the form from the competition supervisor and said half-jokingly, maybe his master didn't remind him of this. Holding hands, they walked to the office of the Martial Arts Association excitedly without looking back at the ring. The staff took the form and found the corresponding video. After confirming the final result, he smiled and said, "Hello, Lu Qing. As a professional 9th pin fighter, you automatically become a member of the Martial Arts Association. Do you want to withdraw?" "No." Lu Qing was not a fool. The staff read the terms and conditions. As an official member of the Martial Arts Association, you have to pay a membership fee of 1,000 yuan per year. The association will organize lectures for high-ranked fighters from time to time. We will also help you solve problems, such as coordinating legal resources. In short, you will get a lot of services. As for your obligations, first, you have to protect the reputation of the association. Second, you have to cooperate with the association when there are not enough referees in high-density competitions. Of course, we will give you a certain amount of remuneration or contribution points of the same value, which can be exchanged for martial arts-related materials collected by the association, including but not limited to unique martial arts. Do you have any questions? No. Lu Qing shook his head. After hearing what the staff said, he really felt that he was a professional 9th pin fighter. Chapter 192. After paying the membership fee and taking the photo, Lu Qing successfully received the certificate of professional 9th pin. His rank could be checked on the official website by his name and number. Why do I look so stupid? He looked at the photo on the certificate with dissatisfaction. Not a single one of his identification photos was presentable. Yen Jika smiled and said in a light tone, "This is called seeking truth from facts." Without giving Lu Qing a chance to speak, she took out her phone and said excitedly, "Stand still. I'll take a photo for you as a souvenir. From today on, you're a professional fighter. From today on, I'm a professional fighter." Lu Cheng's heart was suddenly stirred by this sentence. From today on, even if I drop out of college, even if my dad loses his job again, even if my family changes, I'm still a man who can shoulder the burden of life. He didn't know why, but he suddenly felt himself become solemn. He saw Yen Jika step back and imitate the professional posture cutely to include himself in the camera. 1, 2, 3. The girl shouted in a clear voice. Click. Lu Cheng's serious face as he held the professional ninth pin certificate was fixed in the flash. He silently said in his heart, I am a fighter of professional ninth pin, but this is not enough. If I want to shoulder Ku's life and make her live a better life, the state of Danqi is the most basic. Professional eighth pin is the most basic. Among the tens of millions of people in Songqing, including the police department, martial arts schools, martial arts clubs, professional clubs, medical and security companies closely related to martial arts, there were no more than 70 or 80 mighty ones of Dan's stage, including the old and the young. Those who could enter this category were definitely the elites of the elites. There were two ways to obtain the certificate of professional eighth pin. One was to form a big Dan and generate qi from the body. As long as a fighter entered the state of Danqi, he could get the certificate directly after verification. The other way was to submit the information of the fighter who had defeated an eighth pin master and be promoted through the ranking event. This kind of case was rare, but not rare because of the existence of supernatural abilities. Therefore, Songqing might have 7 or 8 newly advanced rank 8 martial artists in a year, or maybe none at all. On average, there were about 4 martial artists per year. Some of them came from martial arts schools and entered the military, not staying in the city. Some of them went to cities like the capital, Huahai, or the Shangqing sect, Daxing Temple, and other sections. They would come into contact with martial artists of the same level or even higher ranks to hone themselves and pursue higher and further martial arts goals. Lu Cheng's current goal was to join their ranks. This was the only way he could face the Empress Dowager and the others with confidence. One more. Cheng, don't be so serious. Smile. Yenjika seemed to be happier than when she got the certificate herself. Looking at her, the corners of Lu Cheng's mouth curled up. His solemn mood quickly faded away, and his mood became cheerful again. Next up was the long-awaited May 1st trip. At the beginning of April, his travel guide had been approved by Yenjika. In just a few days, it was April 30th, Geezershire did not disappoint and gave the special training trainees a holiday, allowing them to tidy up their tired mood after a long period of perseverance. They were ready for the bonus distribution and the draw results of the knockout round after the holiday. After the last class in the afternoon, Lu Cheng had a quick dinner with Yenjika and went back to the dormitory. He checked his luggage again to make sure he didn't forget anything. Carrying his luggage, he came to the door of the third dormitory. Not long after, he saw the girl walking out of the door of the unit, dragging an orange 17-inch suitcase. At this time, Yenjika had changed her clothes. She was wearing a white t-shirt, light-colored jeans, a light green knitted sweater, and white sneakers. Simple but beautiful, full of vitality. Lu Cheng was not stingy with his loving eyes. He took the suitcase from the girl, held her hand, and said in high spirits, "Let's go." Yenjika covered her mouth and smiled, turning her head away. "I don't want to talk to this pompous guy." They didn't go to the bus station. Because of the holiday, there was a long line. Without waiting for more than half an hour, they couldn't get on the bus. Of course, Lu Cheng wouldn't let such a beautiful trip be overshadowed. He had already booked a car through the software. He didn't care about the extra money. When they went out of the school gate, the car was already waiting for them. Lu Cheng hurriedly put down their luggage and sat beside Yenjika. Just as he closed the door, he suddenly heard his phone ring. He picked it up and saw it was a call from Jiang Fei. "Fatty Jiang?" He picked up the phone in confusion. Jiang Fei's familiar voice came from the phone. "Cheng, I'm coming to you." "Ah." Lu Cheng was confused. Yenjika also looked over curiously. "Isn't it the May Day holiday? I don't want to stay in the dormitory and play games all the time, so I want to come to you and play in Songqing for a couple of days," Jiang Fei said excitedly. Lu Cheng looked at Yenjika, who was at a loss, and laughed. "Fatty Jiang, can't you tell me this a few weeks in advance? I'm not in Songqing now." "Of course, even if you told me in advance, I wouldn't stay in Songqing." This was really typical of Fatty Jiang. He would do whatever he wanted to do. "Damn, Cheng, are you still my brother?" Jiang Fei was annoyed and amused. Shouldn't you turn back immediately after receiving my call? I say, where are you going? Can you take me with you? Is it fun to be a third wheel? Lu Qing cruelly rejected Fatty Jiang. Are you kidding me? How could I be a third wheel when I'm traveling with two people? Third wheel. Jiang Fei wasn't a fool. He immediately realized. You got her? You can go on a trip with her? Hee hee. Lu Qing could only reply with a laugh. Wow, you're awesome. Among us, you're the first to get out of being single. Jiang Fei said with envy and emotion. When are you going to introduce me to sister-in-law? You know her. Lu Qing said quietly. But he smiled and said, when the time comes. This kind of thing must be asked for the opinion of the master in advance. He couldn't make the decision without permission. Okay, I won't bother you anymore. Teach me a thing or two. I want to find a girlfriend too. Jiang Fei wailed and hung up the phone. Yenjika, who had been watching with a smile, asked Jiang Fei. She had heard Lu Qing mention this high school buddy of his several times. Yeah, he wanted to come to Songqing for fun for no reason, but I heartlessly rejected him. Lu Qing answered with a smile. Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled. Speaking of him, I think of Song Li. She complained to me twice that Jiang Fei's big mouth caused her relationship with Du Liu to spread to most of the students in the two classes. We have a part to play in this. Lu Qing and the girl looked at each other and smiled. After chatting for a while, they forgot about Jiang Fei and started to discuss the itinerary of this trip. Lu Qing chose Yangtai, which was relatively less popular in the surrounding area. He didn't want to be crowded. Imitating the famous scenic spots in China, a new pure glass canyon bridge was built there. It looked exciting and interesting. Moreover, there were relatively fewer tourists because of the lack of publicity. This was the arrangement for the first day. After that, there were activities such as eating, drinking, and playing in the ancient town. At 8:30 p.m., they arrived at Yangtai by train. While waiting for the taxi, Lu Qing noticed that Yenjika didn't look well. He asked with concern, not feeling well? Carsick? I'm fine. Yenjika shook her head, indicating that she was fine. Then she reached out and held Lu Qing's free arm. Lu Qing felt that she might be tired, so he didn't ask more. He just tried his best to carry her weight. 20 minutes later, the taxi stopped at the entrance of Yangtai Tomorrow Hotel. This was the place that Lu Qing had carefully chosen. He didn't want to let Yenjika feel wronged on this trip. He didn't want a girl to live in a place that cost 100, 200, or 300 yuan. Therefore, he chose the best place within his means. 2 rooms for 3 nights cost more than 4,000 yuan. Taking the room card, he said to Yenjika with a smile, I heard that the night market in Yangtai is pretty good. Since we're in a hurry for dinner, why don't we have supper later? Sure. Yenjika nodded with a smile. Come to me after you put your luggage down. The earlier you eat, the earlier you can go to bed. You have to get up early to train tomorrow. Okay. Lu Qing answered happily. After finding the room, putting away his backpack and taking care of his personal matters, he returned to the girl's door and knocked on it. After a few knocks, Yenjika opened the door. Her complexion was worse than before. There was a hint of pain in her expression. What's wrong? Lu Qing asked anxiously. Just then, he had a flash of inspiration. He pointed to his belly and said, Is that thing coming? Yes. Yenjika nodded, frowning. Lu Qing hurriedly said, Wait for me. I need to get something. After that, he hurried back to his room, rummaged through several bags, and returned to the girl's room. What's this? Yenjika asked curiously with one hand covering her belly. Lu Qing hurriedly washed the electric kettle and said with a smile, Brown sugar ginger tea. I specially prepared it for you. Yenjika was stunned and said in surprise, "You know that I'm going to have my period?" "That's right. Isn't that obvious? Your period came on Valentine's Day on February 14th. It's a 26-day cycle. Shouldn't it come on March 12th, April 7th, and May 3rd? But your period came 2 days earlier in April. Most of the time it will come on these 2 or 3 days this month. So I didn't arrange anything like drifting." Lu Qing said with a look of, "Why do you think I don't know?" His hands were not slow. He had already started to boil the water. Then he said with a self-deprecating smile, "I was worried that you wouldn't want to travel because of your period." Yenjika looked at him busying himself in an orderly manner and listened to his seemingly matter-of-fact words. Her eyes suddenly turned a little red. She gritted her teeth and said, Actually, I agreed because I'm on my period." Lu Cheng, who was washing the cup, was stunned. He turned to look at the girl and said with some inexplicable grievance, "You're afraid that I'll be beastly when traveling? Am I so untrustworthy?" Yenjika bit her lower lip and nodded seriously. "I'm afraid, speaking of this," she suddenly became a little emotional, "it's mainly because in these months, every time we were alone, you were so lustful. I always felt that you were just using me as a tool to vent your desire." After that, she exhaled as if she had finally vented all the negative feelings that had accumulated in the bottom of her heart. Chapter 193. While washing the cups, Lu Cheng was waiting for his girlfriend to be moved by his thoughtfulness. He didn't expect to be greeted with such words. For a moment, he was confused, wronged, and a little confused. If I were to use you as a tool to vent, then why do I have to endure so much pain every time? If I were to use you as a tool to vent, then why do I have to test your attitude every time before I dare to take a step further? He turned his head and saw the complicated emotions in the girl's eyes. Then he took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down so that his explanation wouldn't turn into a dispute. "How could I use you as that kind of tool? Don't I dare to continue every time only when you don't object? If you don't like it, you can tell me. You can just show it. I can definitely hold it in and won't force you." When he said the last sentence, he felt that he couldn't control his emotions and was a little agitated, so he kept repeating the words, "calm down," and "communicate." Yenjika seemed to have calmed down and wasn't as agitated as before. Her nose was a little blocked, and she said anxiously, "That's not what I mean. I mean, every time we are alone, you act like your mind is full of that kind of thing. You act like you're always thinking about that kind of thing. You act like you're always thinking about that kind of thing. You act like you're always thinking about that kind of thing when we're alone." Her words were a little messy, but she didn't look away. She looked straight at Lu Cheng, pursed her lips, and said, "Sometimes, I'm not very willing, but I feel that you like it very much. I'm afraid that you'll be disappointed and unhappy, so I still cooperate with you." Speaking of this, she paused and sniffed. Her eyes became a little redder. To be honest, Lu Cheng felt a little disappointed and hurt in his heart. But when he heard Yenjika's words, he felt her grievance, her tolerance, and her concession. Immediately, most of the emotions in his heart dissipated. He seriously examined his performance during this time. It seemed, probably, that he always unconsciously let the two of them be filled with hormones when they were alone. He exhaled the turbid breath just now and said, "You mean you don't like it every time? You mean I act like I'm only thinking about that kind of thing? You hope that we can do something else when we are alone? Cool, if you don't like it, you must show it. Although I'm more attentive in other aspects, I'm not that sensitive in this kind of thing. If you don't say it or don't object, I'll think that you like it very much." As he said this, he felt a little funny and a little bit sentimental because he remembered a sentence by Little Ming. Sometimes, a girl's willing is liking, and sometimes not liking, but sometimes their willingness doesn't necessarily mean they don't like it. Yes, not. It. 2. Take it slow. Wait for me. Take it slow. Wait for me. Seeing Yenjika like this and hearing her words, Lu Cheng's remaining emotions completely disappeared. He pursed his lips and promised seriously, I'll control myself. I'll wait for you. While the electric kettle was turning on, he put down the cup and took a step forward. He took Yenjika's hand and pulled her into his arms. He didn't kiss her, but just wanted to hold her quietly. Yenjika hugged his back and buried her face in his shoulder. After a while, she said softly, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. When I was at the ranking event, I was actually very touched and happy to see that you could endure for me. However, you always acted like you were thinking about that kind of thing, which made me a little confused. I thought that since I was on my period, I could take the opportunity to see your reaction. I wanted to see if you were disappointed, depressed, indifferent, or something else. In the end, you already knew and didn't feel disappointed at all. You even tried your best to take care of me and even prepared ginger tea. I feel a little guilty. I feel that I misunderstood you, so I plucked up the courage to tell you my thoughts and communicate with you. Don't let these things hurt our relationship bit by bit. She raised her head. She was a little embarrassed and couldn't bring herself to say it, but she still pursed her lips and looked at Lu Cheng earnestly. Cheng, I'm sorry. What I said at the beginning was a little harsh. No, it's not what I really think. It's just that I've thought about a few expressions just now, but I felt that they were either too tactful or too coquettish. I couldn't let you know my attitude clearly. I was afraid that you wouldn't take it seriously, so I said those words. You don't need to apologize between us. Lu Cheng stroked her hair and thought for a while. At first, I felt a little hurt and couldn't believe that you actually thought of me like this. But after hearing your grievance and concession, I felt that it was nothing, and it was a girl's period. It was completely understandable. Yenjika's beautiful eyebrows relaxed and finally showed a faint smile. She lowered her head and buried it in Lu Cheng's shoulder. She said in a low voice, it's nothing. Two people can't only give and endure one-sided. I can feel your heart, so I want to do the same. Next time when you don't like it, you must express it. I'm very stupid. I'm afraid that I'll misunderstand your meaning. Now I don't even know when to kiss and when not to kiss. Lu Cheng said with some distress. Yenjika's pretty face pressed on his shoulder. She laughed in a muffled voice. Idiot. Atmosphere. Feeling. Do you understand? I don't understand. What do you mean by atmosphere, right? What do you mean by feeling right? You don't have any quantitative standards. Lu Cheng was sweating. When he was about to say something more, he heard the sound of the electric kettle turning on and off. He let go of her and waited for the boiling sound to stop. Then he heated the cup again with boiling water. Then he tore open the packaging and put in the brown sugar ginger tea. Finally, he ran the supernatural ability of frost to reduce the temperature to a level where it would not burn his tongue. The housekeeping supernatural ability was really good. Yenjika stood beside him, quietly watching him busying himself. Her eyes were sparkling and the corners of her mouth curved into a smile that seemed to be both happy and warm. It's done. Lu Cheng passed the cup to her. Yenjika took it with both hands and sat on the edge of the bed. She closed her eyes and took a deep sip. Then she smiled and said, I've always heard about this kind of tea. But I don't like the taste of ginger. So every time I put it in the shopping cart, I didn't buy it. Ah, did I pick the wrong one? Lu Cheng asked with some annoyance. Usually when they were eating, he would pay attention to the girl's habits. When he found that she didn't reject the ginger in the dishes and soup, he thought that she would accept the ginger tea. But this kind of thing couldn't be asked directly. That would be the end of the surprise. Yenjika smiled and took another sip from the cup. Her cheeks were rosy because of the heat. She looked to the side and said calmly, You're right. Now I like it. I like the boy who cares about my period. I like his carefulness when he's busy. I like the way he tolerates my stubbornness and willfulness. That's good. Lu Cheng breathed a sigh of relief and sat beside Yenjika. He thought for a while and said, Ku, I need to talk to you about two things. What is it? Yenjika blinked and looked at him. Her eyes were still a little red. Lu Qing chose his words carefully and said, "You said that my reaction was too big and scared you. But this is my instinct. I can't control it even if I want to. You're so beautiful and so tempting in my heart. I'm full of vigor and I like you so much. Even if I don't think about dirty things in my mind, I can't help but have a reaction most of the time. It's not that I want to do whatever I want. It's not that I only want to take advantage of you. I hope you can understand." "Really?" Yenjika bit her lips and looked a little curious. Lu Qing said sincerely, "Really? You can ask your best friends." "Okay." Yenjika nodded thoughtfully. "What's the second thing?" Lu Qing smiled and said, "In fact, even if your period didn't come, I think I can still control it at the last moment. First, I don't think I have the ability to shoulder your future. Besides, I promised Empress Dowager. I always feel that her eyes are watching me from afar. It's quite stressful. Second, I fear suspicion and lack of confidence the most in a long-distance relationship. I want to show you that even in front of the girl I love, I can still control it if no one stops me. Not to mention those flirtatious bitches out there. I hope I can give you confidence in this way so that our relationship can go on forever." Do you think I'm thinking too far ahead and seem a little silly?" Yenjika couldn't help but laugh. She rolled her eyes and said, "Of course not. I like this silly look of yours. I like that you think too far ahead for our future." She held the cup and slowly finished the brown sugar ginger tea. She exhaled and said, "I feel much better. Do you still want to go out for supper?" Lu Qing asked. Yenjika pressed her belly with her right hand and thought for a while. "Let me relax a little more." Speaking of this, she pursed her lips and turned her head to the side. Blushing, she hummed and said, "You made me very emotional today. Rub my belly as punishment." "Okay." Lu Qing was pleasantly surprised. Yenjika took off her shoes and curled up with her back to Lu Qing. Her black hair covered the white pillow. Lu Qing gestured to her and carefully lay on his side behind her. His left hand went around her waist and reached for her belly. At this moment, Yenjika hummed in a low voice. "You're pressing on my hair." "Ah." Lu Qing hurriedly raised his upper body and let her gather her hair. Then he dared to lie down. His left hand touched Yenjika's belly through the t-shirt. After rubbing for a while, Yenjika suddenly said softly, "You can reach in and rub." Your hand is hot." Lu Qing looked at her in surprise. He saw that she was still lying on her side and didn't turn around. Her black hair was like a waterfall and her ears were bright red. Taking a breath, he carefully opened the t-shirt and put his hand in. But the first thing he touched was the feeling of a piece of paper. "What's this?" he asked subconsciously. Yenjika was embarrassed and annoyed. "Sanitary pads." "Ah." Lu Qing was confused. He had only heard of sanitary pads. It's the upgraded version of sanitary pads. You don't have to worry about leakage." Yenjika explained shyly. "Oh, sanitary pads in the shape of pants." Lu Qing suddenly understood. He put his hand in a little and touched her belly. Then he began to rub it carefully. Lu Qing couldn't help but have a little reaction. But soon he restrained himself and stopped thinking about it. He recalled what had happened before and thought about what the girl had said. Usually, Yenjika was a beautiful and gentle girl. She was gentle on the outside but delicate on the inside. She was mature and cute at the same time. But was this the complete her? No, just now she had her own opinion, bottom line, courage, and persistence. No wonder Empress Dowager said she was stubborn in her bones. And she could think about what kind of words were more appropriate. She would choose the former between effect and tone. Compared to other girls who were tactful and reserved, she could speak frankly and fearlessly when necessary. No wonder she had rejected so many boys but didn't have any scandals. She didn't have too many pestering pursuers. I'm still too immature. Fortunately, Yenjika is willing to communicate with me instead of keeping it in her heart. It would be troublesome if a small problem became a big problem. While rubbing, he heard Yenjika's breath become long and steady. He looked up and found that the girl had fallen into a deep sleep. The torment of menstruation and emotional turmoil made her physically and mentally exhausted. Lu Qing looked at her quietly without any thoughts. In this quiet and warm atmosphere, he also felt a little sleepy and wanted to synchronize his breath with Yenjika's. Sleep for half an hour. He rubbed and unconsciously closed his eyes. When he woke up abruptly and looked at his phone, it was almost 1 o'clock. So he forcibly pulled himself out of the warm and fragrant quilt, carefully got off the bed and covered the girl's legs with the quilt again. During this process, he hesitated for a while whether to help Yenjika take off her pants. But he was afraid of being misunderstood, so he restrained himself. He turned off the light and tiptoed to the door. What time is it? Suddenly, Yenjika, who had lost the warmth on her back, asked in a daze. Lu Qing stopped and turned back. It's almost 1 o'clock. Yenjika turned on the bedside lamp and struggled to get up. She sleepily walked to the suitcase and took out a set of pajamas and a bag of things. When she passed by Lu Qing and entered the bathroom, she lowered her head and said in a low voice, "You can sleep here tonight. You can't sleep if you keep going back and forth. And you can continue to rub my belly." "Yes, rub your belly." Lu Qing looked at her in surprise and saw the girl's face as red as blood. She closed the door of the bathroom with a bang. Sleep with her? Lu Qing was stunned and immediately felt a strong surge of joy. Although he couldn't do anything, he always felt that it was very good. Yenjika changed into her underwear, washed her face and brushed her teeth. She walked out of the bathroom and didn't dare to look at Lu Qing. "Go wash up. It stinks." Lu Qing laughed and cleaned himself up after a while. When he returned to the room, Yenjika was lying on her side again with her back to him. Her body was completely buried in the quilt. Her black hair was like a cloud, setting off her small oval face. Under the dim bedside lamp, everything was so warm. Lu Qing held his breath and came to the bedside. He hesitated for a while whether to take off his pants. But in the end, he carefully took them off, pulled the quilt and got in. A burst of fragrance hit him. He took a breath and lay down cautiously. Then he heard the girl moan again. "You are pressing on my hair." This. Lu Qing was confused. Why does this always happen? In the future, when we vote for the most words between a man and a woman lying on the bed, if the woman has long hair, I will definitely choose, "You are pressing on my hair." He raised his upper body again and tucked Yenjika's hair back. Then he turned off the bedside lamp and lay on his side. He put his left hand around her waist and stretched it to the same place, continuing to massage. Under the quilt, the girl's thin pajamas assaulted him. Lu Qing couldn't help but have a reaction again. I will hold it back. It's instinct." Lu Qing felt the girl's body stiffen and hurriedly explained. Yenjika didn't turn around and said in the quilt, "I believe you, I believe you." Hearing these 4 words, Lu Qing suddenly felt that his previous efforts were worth it. His eyes became hot and he massaged more carefully. The two of them chatted casually. Soon, Yenjika fell asleep again. Lu Qing concealed his spirit and qi and fell into a deep sleep soon after. At 5:30 in the morning, he woke up naturally. He saw the dim light from outside and saw the soft body in his arms and the sweet fragrance. It was an indescribably beautiful picture. He resisted the throbbing and struggled to leave the bed of warmth. He didn't want to wake the girl up, so he planned to go back to his room to wash up. At this moment, Yenjika felt his departure and turned around subconsciously. However, she didn't catch him. She opened her eyes in a daze and said slowly, "You are up?" "Yes." Lu Qing knelt on the bed, lowered his head and gently kissed her lips. Yenjika raised her hands and put them around his neck. She muttered, "I haven't brushed my teeth yet." Hearing this, Lu Qing laughed secretly. He lowered his head again and kissed her deeply without any lust. After the kiss, Yenjika withdrew her hands and looked at him coquettishly and lazily. "Remember to buy me breakfast when you come back." "Okay." Lu Qing agreed with a smile. He put on his clothes and left the room with light steps. Walking in the dim corridor, he felt unusually satisfied and warm. There was an indescribable happiness. The scene just now seemed to be a scene he had dreamed of for a long time. After marriage, every morning. Chapter 194. Back in his room, Lu Qing put on the navy blue Longhu Club martial arts suit and put in his cell phone and room card. When he was about to go out, he turned around and walked to the bed. He took out his wallet, took out 2 $100 notes and put them together with the room card. Although it was convenient to pay by mobile phone and sometimes it didn't matter if he didn't carry money, he was traveling and didn't know what was going on. It was better to carry some money in case of an accident. When he went downstairs, the fresh and refreshing air came into his nose. Lu Qing took 2 deep breaths and felt comfortable both physically and mentally. He identified the direction in the morning mist and jogged slowly to the road on the right according to the map he had read before. After passing through 2 streets, he arrived at a temporarily empty and quiet square. He found a corner and got into a stance to practice pole standing. Starting from yin and yang, he focused on the inner practice of thunder roar zen. He visualized the thundercloud in his mind, which affected the muscles in his abdomen and brought out a rhythmic low rumble of thunder from his throat. The muscles all over his body followed the rhythm, sometimes tightening, sometimes exploding, creating a slight vibration inside to temper his bones, marrow, blood, and organs. Compared to the time when he faced Imo Zizong's elephant trumpet, his bone marrow was condensed and his blood was running like a big river with vigorous vitality, washing and polishing every part of his body. Thump, thump, thump. Lu Qing slightly controlled his heartbeat, making it sometimes intense and sometimes slow, so as to influence other viscera. Combined with the thunder vibration, they completed the wriggling together. This was the sign that his martial arts had been practiced into his bones and was about to be practiced into his body. At that time, he would reach the peak of body refining and be able to integrate his internal and external forces into one. He would be able to control the muscles and bones that he couldn't control in the past and do all kinds of things that ordinary people found inconceivable. For example, when he reached the Danchi stage, he could cover his ears by himself. He had been training like this for nearly 50 minutes. The bright moon in the sky finally disappeared and the morning sun shone down, illuminating the darkness and dispelling the thin fog. At first, Lu Qing was the only one in the square, and all was quiet. Later, morning trainers of all ages and ages started to appear one after another. The low rumbling sound of thunder came from Lu Qing's body, attracting the attention of all the men and women who passed by him. Those who were more experienced changed their expressions slightly, their eyes filled with awe and yearning. Prolonged training was harmful to the body. The sound of blood flowing in Lu Qing's body gradually slowed down. His wriggling abdomen also gradually stopped. In the beginning, he could only train for 20 minutes. Now, he could train for 48 minutes. It was enough to show the improvement of his body and the strengthening of his bone marrow, blood, and organs. Opening his eyes, he slowly began to practice the training routines, from 24 blizzard strikes, to big and small hand wrap, and then to thunder roar zen, and mainly allocated his time to the latter. Thunder roar zen didn't seem to pose any difficulty to him after he started practicing it. But when he started practicing it, Lu Qing had new feelings and experiences every day. He had unearthed a lot of hidden meanings. Only recently did he feel that he had reached a higher level. However, he underestimated the difficulty of combining Thunder Roar Zen and Frost Force. After more than a month, he barely touched the threshold of the killing move, Severe Warning. Lu Qing wasn't anxious about this. His body hadn't reached the peak of body refining, so he couldn't rush other things. Moreover, according to his master, severe warning was a simplified version of physical invulnerability moves, so it wasn't easy to master. After practicing one round, due to the limited environment and the crowd, he didn't practice his moves. Instead, he stood still and practiced ice mirror again. Combined with the inward vision brought by the Jean Dan, he tried again and again, but the result was no surprise. He failed shamefully every time. But during this process, his eyes, ears, mouth, nose, soul, spirit, and other senses were gradually transforming. At 7:40, he exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, put away his stance, wiped his sweat, and walked back along the road where the street lights were out. He felt full of spirit and vigorous chi and blood, with an inexplicable certainty. His relationship with Yen Jika, from the beginning to the end, was too beautiful to be real. It always made him feel insecure, like it was a dream, and when he woke up, everything would be gone. But after the emotional communication last night, he realized that a lot of the beautiful things were exchanged for by Yen Jika's obedience, compromise, and tolerance. If it continued without him noticing it, and his behavior didn't change much, it was very likely to develop from quantitative change to qualitative change, and become the source of quarrels, contradictions, and even breakup. K's words last night were a little hurtful, but because of this, he remembered it clearly. Every time he thought of it, his heart would tighten and he would shiver. The false veil of pure beauty was removed, and the differences in ideas, thoughts, and habits between a man and a woman began to show. They started to get along, but Lu Qing didn't feel regret. Instead, he felt more grounded, because this way, they would last for a long time. His little fairy was floating in the sky, and one day he would be unable to touch her. When she turned back to Yen Jika and fell to the ground, she would be the girl he could live with. If he didn't care about her, if he didn't think about the future, he wouldn't have said that out loud. Lu Qing walked forward confidently. The insecurity he felt in the past when he was always afraid of losing Yen Jika was made up a lot. After walking for a few minutes, he saw rows of breakfast stalls in front of the community. They were steaming and giving off the smell of life. What should I eat? What should I buy for Ko? Lu Qing looked around and chose a noodle stall first. After a few glances, he ordered a bowl of noodles with zhejiang sauce and a bowl of braised beef noodles. The stall owner had seen a lot of customers with a big appetite. He didn't ask if Lu Qing was alone or with two people. After a shout, he picked up enough noodles and put them into a big iron pot. While waiting, Lu Qing found a table at random and sat next to it. Looking at the poor people who had to work overtime during the holidays and watching them pick and choose at the breakfast stalls, he suddenly felt a little more relaxed. Not long after, 2 bowls of noodles were served. Lu Qing didn't eat in a hurry. He took a picture first and planned to send it to Yen Jika later. He would ask her what she wanted to eat. If she didn't wake up or didn't know what to eat, he would make the decision himself. He ate in full swing. He felt that this stall had a lot of ingredients. The stewed beef was very soft, and the sauce was very fragrant. Except for the quality of the noodles, it was good. He finished the 2 bowls of noodles quickly. After asking the stall owner if he could pay with his mobile phone, he had to take out the cash. After that, he strolled around the breakfast stalls leisurely. Sometimes he would eat a bowl of wonton, and sometimes he would eat a tray of soup dumplings. This reminded him of the first few years of primary school and middle school when his father's company was close to bankruptcy. The uncles and aunties in the community lived a hard life. They either went out to work or set up stalls to make a living. Therefore, at that time, there were many breakfast stalls in the community and outside the school. Many of them were acquaintances. However, he didn't have a big appetite back then. He couldn't eat one stall after another like now. Wang Su, on the other hand, grew up early and had a strong body. He had to eat 3 or 4 stalls every day to be full. His family was even more poor than his own. Sometimes he would ask for credit, but he never said that he wouldn't pay back. Even after he entered the society, he didn't eat and drink for free. Because of this little bit of behavior, he always thought that his nature was not bad. When he was almost done, Lu Qing sent a picture of the food to Yan Jika on QQ and recommended the breakfast that he identified as clean and good. After waiting for a few minutes, he didn't get a reply from Yan Jika. He put away his phone and went back to a stall. He asked for a tray of soup dumplings and a bowl of braised beef noodles. Carrying 2 sets of food in his right hand, he quickened his pace in case it would be bad if it got cold. When he was about to turn the corner, he suddenly heard a panicked shout in front of him. "Thief! Thief!" Lu Qing looked up and saw a girl in her 20s stumbling to catch up with a skinny young man. He pursed his lips and observed for a while. Then he took 2 steps to the left and happened to pass by the young man. Then he quietly stretched out his foot to the side. Thump! The young man tripped and immediately lost his center of gravity. He tried to stabilize himself with some kung fu, but it was too slow. In the end, he fell heavily on the ground and was chased a few steps away by the girl. He turned over and stood up. He took out a dagger from his waist and waved it a few times with a fierce look. Lu Qing suddenly rushed to the front of the young man. He grabbed the dagger with his left hand and twisted it skillfully. The dagger fell to the ground with a clang. He leaned his body and controlled his strength to hit the young man. The young man almost stopped breathing and staggered to the ground again. The girl caught him and took back the phone from his pocket. Many people had come over and the young man had lost his strength to fight back. Lu Qing, who was anxious to send breakfast to his girlfriend, turned around and walked away. During the smooth movement just now, he kept his right hand steady and didn't let the soup spill. The girl saw that some people helped to hold down the young man. She hurriedly turned around and shouted to Lu Qing's back, "Thank you. Don't go." She shouted and chased after him. It seemed that she wanted to thank him in person. Lu Qing didn't turn around. Instead, he sped up. He waved his left hand and answered happily, "You're welcome. Please call me Red Scarf." The girl had been chasing the young man for a while and was exhausted. She had to stop and breathe heavily. Then she seized the time to take a picture of Lu Qing's back with her phone. Click. She looked at Lu Qing's shabby navy blue Longhu Club martial arts suit and the 2 boxes in his right hand. She exhaled and posted the picture on her WeChat Moments with the caption, "Super handsome and awesome delivery boy." When Lu Qing was about to return to the hotel, he finally saw Yan Jika's reply. She said with a pitiful face, "Qing, where are you? Miss me?" Lu Qing replied with a naughty smile. Yan Jika sent a sad emoji biting her handkerchief and said, "Well, I feel a little scared when I wake up in a strange place. I miss you a little, hey, I'm about to enter the elevator." This was the first time that Lu Qing felt a girl's attachment. He was suddenly excited. After what happened last night, the relationship between Ku and I seemed to have improved. He came to Yan Jika's door and knocked twice. Then the door opened with a squeak. Yan Jika was wearing the light-colored pajamas with cartoon patterns from last night. She looked at Lu Qing with a smile and said, "I feel like you bought me noodles, steamed buns and youtiao. Except for the youtiao, everything is right." Lu Qing immediately laughed and said, "Our hearts are in sync." Hey. Yan Jika laughed and took the food. She sat at the table and started to eat. Lu Qing stood beside her and admired her small but fast-eating manner. While glancing at her, he found that her eyes were slightly swollen. He blurted out, "Last night, I thought you would cry." Yan Jika tapped her chin with her chopsticks and said while thinking, "I cry when I read novels and TV series. When I'm moved, I cry. When I'm really sad, wronged or painful, I won't cry. I'm very tolerant." "Humph, do you want me to cry?" "No, I'm just curious. I've never seen you cry since we met," Lu Qing said with a smile. Yan Jika picked up a steamed bun and put it near her mouth. She gave him a stare. After the girl finished breakfast, Lu Qing planned to go back to his room to take a shower and change clothes before leaving for the mountain. He had just walked a few steps out of the door when he suddenly heard Yan Jika call softly, Cheng, hmm? Lu Cheng looked back and saw the girl leaning against the door with half of her head. She said with a blush, I'm talking about getting along like last night. There was no taste of lust, only the closeness of heart to heart. I like it too, Lu Cheng said with a sincere smile. At this time, he suddenly thought of Yan Zhika's words last night. Sometimes, she is not very willing to be intimate. So sometimes, is she very willing to be intimate? Alas, a girl's mind is really hard to understand. They smiled at each other and went back to their rooms. Lu Cheng was about to take a shower when he heard his phone ring. He picked it up and saw that it was Casanova, Little Ming. Talker, why are you calling me so early in the morning instead of whispering sweet nothings to your girlfriend? Lu Cheng said sarcastically. Kai Zhongming snorted and said, when are you going back to Songqing? My wife thinks that you are a very good friend. You have taken good care of me, helped me quit smoking, and more or less quit drinking. Now that I have a new goal and motivation, she wants to treat you to a meal and thank you. Yes, these are her original words. How can I think the same? I'm clearly the one who's teaching you. I'm the one who's acting as your emotional consultant and making you mature. Damn, you're quite a tsundere. Lu Cheng almost burst out laughing, but he still said emotionally, we are good friends, right? It is really a lucky thing to meet a good friend who can help each other.